Hey, everyone, welcome, Planning Board meeting, October 21st. We're going to get going here. Barry should be right with us. This meeting is being audio recorded. All votes will be conducted, actually won't be conducted by roll call. Oh, they will. No, they won't. We got enough people here. Attendees on Zoom, please use your real name for accurate minutes. Chair will recognize participants when to speak. Mute yourself when not speaking, please. We will have public comment tonight. Public comment's limited to 3 minutes per person. I would,
Motion to approve the agenda?
motion made by Nat, seconded by Joe. Nat?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Oh, that's right, we don't. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Real quick, Dave, if we're following the staff report, Catherine just brought to my attention, it seems as though after public comment or after minutes, the Surfside Crossing review dropped off the staff report.
Oh, okay, well, I'm going by the,
Yeah, the September 12th minutes dropped off here, so if we're.
okay, so add September 12th, no, oh, okay, but I'll go by the agenda and we'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Great. I'd like to open up for public comment on items not listed on the agenda.
What I see. Sorry, Megan.
Anybody online?
No hands are raised online.
All righty. So that's it for public comment, right? Nobody in the room? We're good. Kind of like to stall out for a minute and see if Barry's getting closer for this discussion on Surfside Crossing if we could. You know what, maybe I'll jump ahead to minutes.
Yeah.
We're doing September 9th, 2024, September 12th, 2024. Does anyone have any additions, subtractions, changes?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't hear who seconded.
John.
John? Come on, Barry.
I'll take some stuff out of order.
Yeah, why don't I go on to second dwellings? Second dwellings and apartments, yours are all public hearings anyway, Joe, so we don't even have to pull them out now. On second dwellings, we'll be doing, we're gonna hold off Melissa and Dean Long, that's a public hearing. Mary Page Yates is a public hearing as well, and so is Carlos Portillo. So for second dwellings, motion will be on Carl E. Nelson and Karen L. Nelson at 21 Wigwam Road. Mark P. Chiaffi, and I'm sorry if I slaughtered that, 5 Crow's Nest Way. Golden Pond LLC at 64 and 66 Baxter Road. Garage Apartments will be Peter and Jennifer Guerin at 36 Pocomo Road. Welcome, Barry. And the Donovan 2024 Trust, Timothy B. Smith at 104 Surfside Road. Entertain a motion on those, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Nat, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to recuse. Just for the record. Yeah.
Okay, just based on the 3 public hearings.
Just in
Okay,
case.
better safe, sorry. All right, we're gonna backtrack to Surfside Crossing now.
Thank you, sorry.
No, not a problem. Welcome. Meg, you want to walk us into this if you could, please? Or walk us out of it would be better.
I'm gonna actually have Billy
Yes.
kick off, if you don't mind, since he's been the staff member most involved at the ZBA.
Yes, makes sense.
And then I can chime in as necessary.
I have, and I mean, I did forget to include the link to the 40B page because all the documentation, when I sent you all the staff report, it's all on the website, on the town website for the updated documentation, so I apologize. I mean, there was a lot going on the end of this week and getting ready for the planning board meeting, so we will definitely need to have a conversation about it, but the developer has essentially submitted the 156 unit version of this project versus the initial submission that they originally submitted, I think, in 2017. So the board's gonna, I'll remember to send the link after the, well, I'll send it shortly, but
Is this going to be a problem for the ZBA if we push this back to our next meeting?
I don't think so, because
When do they have to have a decision
our
by?
our next ZBA meeting on this subject, we do have it on for November 14th, but we also have a separate meeting set up for November 20th, so I expect really the bulk of that conversation to be on November 20th.
And when's our next meeting?
Our next meeting is November the 14th.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, great. So we're going to continue this discussion till
the 14th.
the 14th. Okay. Need a motion on that, or we just going to let it go? Okay, perfect. We are on to A and Rs. Salvatore Portilla and Myra Escobar at 72 Cato Lane. Two Pilgrims LLC at 1517 Pilgrim Road. Shannon Boehm and Richard Boehm at 63 Sconset Street, or Sconset Street. Seventh Generation Realty Trust at 250 Matticat Road. John B. Pearl and Lynn C. Pearl trustees. John B. P. Pearl Trust and Linda C. Pearl Trust, 10 Main Street, Sconset. David A. Jackson and Cynthia M. Jackson at 1 Gully Road. And James A. Gettner, trustee, and Susan G. Gettner, trustee at 128 Surfside Road.
Motion to approve all A and Rs. Endorse.
Right, motion made by Joe, seconded by Barry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on to previous plans. We've got Candlewick Corner, VTT AC LLC. Joe is going to step away on this. I don't need an alternate, right? No, okay. Yep. Yep.
Sorry, I'm having connection issues over here. Just
That's
trying to
okay.
Find my place in the staff report. Sure, if you'd like to. So the applicant of this development has submitted a management plan for you all to review and accept, which satisfies condition number 2 of their decision, which then allows them to move forward with the building permit process. So we had, as staff, had a chance to review the management plan and recommend acceptance of that plan.
Okay, great. And just for anyone listening, these are for the apartment buildings we approved last year?
Yeah, so the approval last year was 2 more buildings
Yep.
going into this development, but what the management plan does is provide contact information for any,
Yep.
potential issues that may arise for the area as a whole, not just specific to these 2 buildings.
Okay, great.
I'll make a motion that we accept the management plan
Great.
as per staff recommendation as well.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is Acrete 1865 LLC, 9 Hinsdale Road, the endorsement and legal documents. Welcome back, Joe.
So this is I believe, 3-lot subdivision that was approved several months ago. The applicant has submitted the final plans and legal documentation for you all to endorse. I do note that this was reviewed by our consulting engineer, Mr. Pesci, and he has recommended endorsement, that these plans reflect all of his comments from prior versions. So for that reason, we recommend endorsement.
Great. Members?
A motion to approve the endorsements?
Great.
Second.
All right. Motion made by John, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, got Sandpiper Place 1, South 5 Sandplain Drive, request for authorization to issue a demolition permit to an existing residential structure.
So Richmond Development Company is requesting to be able to proceed with a demolition permit for a dwelling that is located on this site. However, they do not have a Form J lot release. That said, this particular dwelling is one that they inherited from the former property owner. It has been condemned by the health department. It arguably may pose some safety risks by just being there. So I would just suggest if you do support their request to move forward with the demolition, that, you know, we're very clear that this does not extend to any other work other than to demolish and button up the site for safety reasons until that Form J is released.
This is a glitch situation.
I think it's a detractive nuisance that needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think we need to be very clear that once it is cleaned up, that there's no construction happening there at all until the Form J is released.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. The building commissioner was just uncomfortable issuing a demolition permit, since that is a building permit without everyone being on the same page.
Barry?
Yeah.
Yep. To you, Megan, do you want a letter from the chair signed to the, I know he's only right next door, but do you want something in writing just to document, or are we good just doing this verbally?
I think verbally, or I can write a letter to staff approving that, that's fine too.
Whatever you think is
Yeah.
best, I think.
I think we should probably memorialize that through a
Oh,
letter. Yeah, it's- or I can do
100%.
that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
either way.
So that'll be my motion then, to authorize staff to draft a letter to the building commissioner approving the demolition with the caveats that we've kind of chatted about.
Yep, perfect.
Second.
All right, motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty. On to Meadows 2, minor modification to authorize substantiating a second, okay, substituting a second playground for open space.
So I can go through this quickly. We have Mr. Arminetti from Richmond Development Group online if you have any further questions. But this is for a minor modification to the Meadows 2 subdivision and special permit, which is the apartment portion of this project. And what the request is for is that a substitution be made for increased playground equipment in lieu of a community garden. The initial decision required a small playground, actually 2 playgrounds, a toddler playground and elementary playground, both of which have been installed, and a community garden. And what, you know, we're realizing now that the development is pretty well built up, that, you know, there's tons of kids in the area. The thought is that an additional playground space may be better utilized than a community garden that may be difficult to manage with that many tenants. So the request is minor in nature, so we are supportive of that request and would recommend moving forward with the finding and condition in the staff report.
Great.
Yeah. And this kind of thing is gonna happen, a project like this, so we discussed this kind of thing originally.
It's not a bad outcome.
No.
No garden, but
Yeah.
I think this
It
is,
was nice to read that there was a positive, you know,
Right.
and everything, the use for the other one that was there, and trying to move this one forward, I think was a really smart move.
Yeah.
Be well used.
agreed.
Dave Arminetti does have his hand raised, but
Unless you have any questions.
No, I think, no,
It's pretty straightforward.
yeah, I don't, unless Dave thinks he needs to add something, but I'm pretty sure he's got the board going his way, so. Yes, Barry.
So I'll make a motion at this point that we find this to be a minor modification, and then we'll get into the second part of it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll make a motion at this point that we approve the change over to a playground as requested.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Alrighty, on to public hearings. There was a number continued.
Yeah.
Should we take care of those
Sure.
first? Because those, I think, fell off of the,
And I would clarify the Great Harbor Yacht Club being continued as the second
Second
application that was
application,
submitted. The initial application is being moved forward this evening.
I don't have a list of the continued. I know they're being continued, but.
So we have the Great Harbor Yacht Club at 19 and 23 Novadear Farm Road. Again, that's the second application
Yep.
submitted. We have a rear lot subdivision at 62 and 64 Sankey Road being continued. And we have the 13 and 15 Nancy Ann mixed-use development on Nancy Ann
There.
being continued. All to the November 14th meeting.
Great, thanks, Meg.
I'll make a motion, all those to be continued.
Second.
All right, motion made by Nat, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. So this is the, oh, there I go. So. Meg, should I go off of the order's scrambled here a little bit. What's better for you if I go off the staff report or the agenda? You guys either have a preference? Seems to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start off with Great Harbor Yacht Club.
Oh, I would go off the.
You want to schedule?
Yeah, no,
Now, we've got
36.
Carlos Portillo.
Yeah,
You want me to go to, okay, I'll go by.
36 Chuck
I'll go this
Hollow
way.
should be
Okay,
first,
that's
yeah.
great. Okay, Carlos Patillo, Joe's gonna step away. 36 Chuck Hollow Road. I guess Miss Linda Williams will be representing.
Representing the applicant, Mr. Chairman, Carlos bought the property in March of 2021. The barn was the first thing built on the property before 1998 by the predecessor in title for his horse and carriage. You may remember him driving around town with his horse and carriage. And then the house was built in 1998. Carlos bought it and wanted to convert the barn to a secondary dwelling. So earlier on the agenda, you had the secondary dwelling application, which was held for blessing of this one. They don't meet the 20% differential. At the time the barn was built, there was no intention by the predecessor in title to convert it, because it was actually the only building on the site for quite a while. And it lends itself perfectly to being converted.
Great. Thank you. Board members, any questions? Concerns?
Nope.
Okay, great. What would you like to do, gentlemen?
Public hearing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Let's open that public hearing up then. Anybody in the audience? Comments? Concerns? Anybody online, Billy?
No, no one online, but Stephen Welch is online. You'll have to activate a member.
Yes. So motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Great, and you are on this, clearly, so, what's the pleasure, gents?
You wanna go ahead,
Go
Jerry?
ahead, go.
Motion to approve the differential change, allow that difference.
Great. A second?
Second.
Motion made by Nat, seconded by Barry, all in favor? Oh, I gotta do roll call.
Yep.
John,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
You still have to do the secondary dwelling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I think we have a few, so let's get through these, and then we've got Melissa and we've
Sure.
got Yates. Let's do them all and then do that block. when we're
Okay.
done. Is that all right, Meg? or you
Well,
want-
I'd like to go sit down. Don't make me stay up here for those.
We did, but we can flip back. It's
I
fine.
would do it just as we go along. so we
Okay.
don't
All right,
forget.
fine,
All right.
so I'll make a motion.
Stand back up, would you?
Yep. So you're calling the second dwelling then, are you, sir?
Yes.
And so I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
Second.
All right. And
Where's the job?
we don't need Steve
No.
for this. Great.
No.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You sit down now. Oh, boy. All righty. Okay, next is Melissa and Dean Long at 11 Pippin's Way. Art, if Art's here. Joe is recused on this as well, by the way. Is Art online?
And Steve will be back on this one too, right? Okay, thank you.
Is there That's
No,
okay.
he's not on
We
Zoom.
can explain what's
Okay.
happening here.
And
This is a,
Stephen, you're on this one as well.
this is a similar request to the one you just looked at. It's for a waiver of the 20% size differential between the primary dwelling and the proposed secondary dwelling. So if you could pull up the footprint there.
Mhm.
Same request, similar request.
I'd just like a second to point out, I think that people need to understand when these waivers come before us, there's reasons and sensible reasons why we grant them. On the first one, it was granted because it was a
Existing.
pre-existing building, and
Right.
it makes no sense to make them tear off part of the building to achieve the 20% differential. And I don't know how the board's gonna vote, but with the 11 Pippin's Way, the structure hasn't been constructed yet, but the structure is a prefab. And so with a prefab, they already got the boxes. It's difficult to really trim a substantial amount off. And so that's why this is before us and why it will be entertained. So I just wanted people to understand that so that we don't see a flood of people asking for waivers on size differential. Any board members have questions on this application? Nope. Stephen, you good?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to overburden the lot.
No, it's a ginormous lot.
Yeah.
Ginormous. So, all right, it's a public hearing. Do we have anyone in the public that would like to speak to this? Anybody online?
Motion to close public hearing, sir.
Second.
Right, motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. John?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. As to the merits,
Good.
You got it.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the application as submitted, based upon the findings that were delineated by staff.
Second.
motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. John?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you, Stephen. Hold tight, we got another one coming right up.
So since we have the second dwelling now, I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion at this point is that we approve the second dwelling.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Barry, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, on to Mary Page Yates, trustee Mary Page Yates, Revocable Trust, 4 Coffin Street, Syosconset. Welcome back, Joe. Doug Carlson representing, Doug's not here, I don't think, is he? No, is he online?
He's on Zoom. Can you bring
Okay,
him over,
great.
Billy?
Yep, I'm moving them over right now.
Welcome, Doug. Might be muted, Doug.
There we go. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Perfect. Okay, so this is it. You want me to present?
Please.
Okay. The site address is 4 Coffin Street. My name is Doug Carlson, representing Page Yates, the SR1 zoning district. It's pretty straightforward, so keep it short and sweet. But the existing dwelling is towards the center of the lot, favors the west-northwest side. We're not left with many options to locate it, so we're selecting what seems to be the best location with access and aesthetics in mind. The new structure ends up being about 6.5 feet from the existing. So we're here, as the permit says, to request a waiver for the required 10-foot scalar separation between the dwellings.
Great, Doug. Thank you. Board members? Okay. Go to the public. Anybody in the public like to comment on this? Anybody online?
No one online.
Boy, no one loves us today.
I just asked Meg, was this the Val Oliver design?
I believe so,
Yeah, it's really cute.
yeah.
I mean, it's so small, but yeah, it's a 1-bedroom studio. It's,
Yeah. It's one box, and it's important to note too, another factor in the placement is those mature trees. So,
Yeah.
you know, the space option was very limited for placement.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just two things through staff. Usually if we can't get that 10-foot scale separation, do you usually let the fire department know just as a courtesy? Because usually they're the ones who were looking for that 10-foot scale separation.
No.
No, okay. It may be worth reaching out to the tree commissioner as well if we haven't, just since you've identified those trees. And they seem to, I don't know where they are in the status of collecting that data, but just as a little courtesy to them, just say, could you guys let us know one way or another?
Do we know if they're town trees?
We don't know. No.
Okay.
Suspect we don't know. We just know that they're mature trees.
And how, if I could ask Doug, what's the proximity of is it gonna have a full basement? No.
Yeah, it will have a full basement.
yeah.
And what's the proximity to those trees with the hole?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I could, it's not plotted on this site plan, but and I didn't pace it out when I was out there. I would guess that they're going to be probably about 10 feet or so, just looking at that dimension to the property line and the asphalt berm that they do have plotted on this site plan.
So just to follow through with Barry, I agree with Barry. I think we should just contact the tree commissioner and make sure that that if there's any possible damage that could occur, that we mitigate it and that they're aware of it.
Yes, and just, I don't know, the next photo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Next to the bottom one.
That's,
I don't think there's anything.
no, I think it's safe, but I don't think it's gonna hurt to just
Yeah, I
have
didn't
it.
think
Yeah.
this is anything.
Thick built, so they'll get it in there.
No, it's modular.
No, it's
Oh,
modular.
this is,
Yeah,
modular.
but
modular.
they'll fit that, that's pretty wide.
Yeah,
It's a
I don't
small
think,
place.
sorry.
No, Barry?
No, and the main reason I'm doing it is not because there may be a problem or a perceived problem at this point. It's because the inventory of what was available at the tree commissioner, they were citing, they had difficulty at times citing what that is. So I think whenever the opportunity comes up, we can at least say, well,
No,
help us, if nothing else, help us determine it so that you know that.
Yeah, I
that-
just didn't see any trees that would be impacted when I drove by this weekend.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I think
So-
getting in the habit of,
that is a-
Yes,
good.
and we talked about this with the Union Street application.
getting in the
that
habit
was
of
a-
communicating with other town
Yeah.
entities is
There
very
is,
important.
Wisconsin has town trees.
Yeah.
I investigated a little bit.
No,
into
and
that
one thing I
recently.
I went to the tree committee and I said, you guys should get the trees all tagged and then have them on the GIS mapping.
Yeah,
So that when you see there's a red dot, like what is that or whatever.
that's,
That and plot plans,
Yeah,
if it's available at some point.
so the shampoos are on
Yeah.
there.
right. And I will just say real quickly, I've had that same conversation as well too, so it won't be it's good to keep repeating it.
Yeah, they have the
Yeah.
list, so.
Okay.
Great.
I just talked to the homeowner if I may add something in there.
Yes, please.
So she just called me and said that she's talked with John Bartlett, John Bartlett has met the tree warden over there. They're working through some stuff because some of the trees are unhealthy, and the tree warden and John Bartlett have been in communication, if that helps any of your processes.
Okay, great. Perfect, so we're all on the same page here. We have public comment on this? Did I
You called for it,
call for it?
no one. So I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Great. Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and Stephen, you're here for this, correct?
Correct.
No,
No,
he
you
doesn't
have,
need to
you
be.
have 5.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
he's back.
Joe's
Unless you don't need me.
I was ignoring Joe. I was hoping he wasn't going to come back, but I guess I was wrong. No.
So,
So loved, so loved.
Okay, great.
make a
Barry?
motion, we approve the application as submitted with the findings as identified by staff.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, nothing. Seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, on to the,
And
I'm looking at the room.
I'll make a motion at this point, we approve the second dwelling.
Second.
Perfect. Motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, on to the main event.
Yes.
By the looks of the room. Great Harbor Yacht Club, 19, 21, and 23 Nobodere Farm Road. That would be amazing if Stephen was here,
Leo and Arthur.
but we're happy to see Leo.
I'm promoting
Arthur.
Arthur as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Leo, you want to start off?
Yeah, I'll start off. I just want to address some of the development issues.
Yep,
And I did review the first hearing, and there were items that were brought up by several of the members, but I just want to go down through the list and just explain to you where we are with all of this.
Sure.
I did meet at the site with John Lyrink, who runs the tennis facility, and Ed Pesci in July, and we went over a number of items at that time on his review, and we agreed with everything. That he understood where we were coming from, but he also understood that we had got the plan in, so we have to make a lot of additions to the plan as well. And I'll go through pretty much what we were talking about. His big point at the time was the drainage structures. They've been out there for a long time, and we did have them cleaned this summer. There were 2 trips by an off-island company that came in and cleaned the structures, so they've been cleaned already. We actually needed that done because some of the things that he requested were like hoods on the catch basins and things of that nature that we wouldn't be able to get in unless the basins were clean. But all the structures on both 19 and 23 were cleaned this past summer as well. The entrance in and out of 23, he was concerned about the site distances because some of the vegetation that was growing up on that particular property. And there was there is an easement along the front of the Small Friends that we obtained back when we did this project originally in '99. And we flagged out, and John actually had the vegetation cut back. But he also wanted us to demonstrate the site distance going up and down Nobodere Farm Road, which I put together a plan that I will submit, all at once. I know Ed doesn't like to see things piecemeal, so we're gonna submit all of this at once, but we took care of a lot of that over the past several months. The other thing was addition of a crosswalk at that location. I did speak with the town about what the procedure was, and I was told that we could just put the crosswalk in, and we'll put the crosswalk in along with the appropriate signage as well, too. As you know, our office is right down the street, and I've been in and out of there all summer long, and that crosswalk is very well needed. And just where the crosswalk comes out, there's actually an ADA ramp on the sidewalk that's on Nobodere Farm Road, so it just all lined up perfectly. But we're going to add a crosswalk there as well. The drainage system that was installed by Small Friends, and Ed is aware of it because I believe you have in your packet the original drainage analysis. McKenzie Engineering designed that site plan for the school And they were kind enough to share that analysis with us, which I did forward to Ed. And the system was designed for a 100-year storm. But what we have to do, and Ed wanted us to do, was take a look at adding the tennis court and the 4 pickleball court, how much additional runoff we'd be adding to it. The plan shows basically 2 trench drains picking up the runoff of both the pickleball courts and the tennis court, going into a new catch basin and then feeding into another basin which goes into the oil water separator. And we discussed that again out at the site with Ed, and he didn't seem to have a problem, but he just wanted backup information on it as well. I recall during the first hearing whether there was a bike rack out there, and there is a bike rack. I'll submit a photograph when we resubmit everything back in coming this November, and whether there was a footpaths between the schools out there. And there were actually 2 informal footpaths between 19 and that would be 17, which is the new school. And I was out there today, and you can literally walk, from one parking lot to the other. So what the legality of those are, I think they were all put in by handshake because they've been parking on both sides, basically with a handshake. But there is 2 particular footpaths between the 2 properties. And that's pretty much it, what I had to add. Like I say, we met with Ed, and he was pretty clear about what he wanted to see from us, so.
Great. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't quite clear on, what is the location of the 4 pickleball courts?
What was the
The
question?
4 pickleball
Right.
courts, what is the exact location of those?
Well, if he goes on to sheet 2 of the, it's in the back, it's the colored areas. The green area is the outside, and the blue and
And then,
white is the actual service area.
I was just wondering about the impact on the school from a noise point
Well,
of
we
view.
moved the pickleball courts away from the Friends, and we put the tennis court there, and then we do have a Leland cypress plantings going down the 15-foot restricted area between there and the school itself.
Okay, thank you.
And when you're out there too, you can hear the pickleball courts that are over on the nurse's site, which the land bank owns. So they are,
They're noisy,
you can't hear them.
yeah.
I know it's a big issue now all over the state with pickleball courts.
I'm just wondering if there's anything else that would be needed to mitigate
Not
that.
really. I mean, there'll be windscreens and things of that nature, but when I worked on the NERSA project with the off-island consultant, and they had a sound gentleman involved, and he said, really, it's the equipment that you use more than anything else. It's the ball, which is like a wiffle ball
Oh,
and
sure.
a paddle, and that's pretty much it. Unless they update the equipment, there's not much you can do other than.
It's not the shouts of encouragement, it's the
Right.
balls.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Leo. We'll go to Arthur, because I think that's the big question here is where are we with the land issues, I think, right? I think that's the board's biggest concern.
Yeah. I think Arthur needs to address that instead of me.
For sure.
Where we
Arthur?
are at the present time is that, as you know, this application was originally filed and originally presented by Steve Cohen back, I believe at the June meeting. And I came into the situation later after Stephen's unfortunate accident.
Arthur, can you
Yeah.
speak a little more? It's hard to hear
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Please.
Okay, I'm doing the best I can.
All righty.
Might be us.
But
Yeah.
in any event, after that first meeting and before I was involved, the second application, which was on the agenda for tonight, and which we continued, was presented. And if you recall, that application involves having the access to the new facilities on 19 Novadia, which has been purchased by the club, come in through the easement over the corner of the Small Friends property at 21, and not use the same entrance as the existing facility at 23. After looking at it at that meeting, and after considering it further, we've decided that the original application is a far superior one in terms of operational considerations and general layout. And therefore, we've decided to put the second application on the back burner. It's still pending. We continued it to the November meeting, as you know. But we want to go forward with this application and complete our presentation of it, which we will be asking for continuance to the next meeting because there are materials that we will be submitting. In any event, this, I would remind you, involves the addition coming in through the same entrance on 23. What exists at the present time, we're adding one tennis court to the 8 that already exist, and the 4 pickleball courts at the back of the property. This enables it to be fully integrated with the existing facility, and the only major change is that we need to add additional parking. Regardless of the parking count, we need, from an operational standpoint, to have what we're proposing as stacked parking spaces, which will be managed by the club. There'll be employees available to move cars around and facilitate all of that in order to enable the members and the people using the club to be able to park readily. And that will involve parking, as I said, stacking the spaces that are along the northerly boundary of 23, where it butts the Small Friends property at 21. There'll be a fence along that line in order to delineate the boundary and to separate it from the Small Friends facility next door. As Leo indicated, he's met, and again, we've been going through the process of deciding how we wanted to proceed on this, so that's why we don't yet have the full materials submitted to Ed for further review. But Leo has spoken with Ed, as well as with the club management on the site, in order to go over the issues that have been raised, and revised materials addressing that will be submitted for the next meeting. Basically, that's where we are at the present time. We think that this is actually really, in a way, a minor change to what's going on. We acquired additional land, enabling the additional tennis court plus the pickleball facility, which is now very popular, it seems. And we have been in touch with the land bank to let them know what's going on. I know the land bank had raised some questions at the last meeting, mostly relating to deed restrictions, which are not a matter really related to the planning board approval. And we've made some suggestions to the land bank as to additional public benefits that we would be proposing to add. As of now, we haven't heard anything back from them with regard to that, although we submitted it to them about 6 weeks ago. That's basically where we stand, and we would obviously like any further input that any of the board members or the public may have for us, and then we will ask for continuance to the November 14 meeting with the anticipation that we will be presenting, as I say, the responses to Ed's suggestions and minor changes to the plan in connection therewith in time for that meeting.
Great. Thank you, Arthur. Board members, questions? Arthur, for this to be a viable application, you all need to come to an agreement with the land bank, correct?
Well, the land bank issues relate to deed restrictions that have, they're not too clear, frankly, in a number of respects as to how they would apply to this situation. We obviously need planning board approval. We also, to the extent that those restrictions would have an impact upon the situation, we'll need to work that out with the land bank. But, they're really two separate things. Obviously, we need both to be in place.
Yeah. No, I think, my concern is I don't want the board's decision to be used as a,
Yeah.
as a wedge to get your situation worked out with the land bank. And I don't have a problem running parallel tracks, but I have some concerns about us making a finding here and then that being used as a motivational tool for the land bank. So I would like to see everything come together at the same time, if that makes sense.
Well, they're really unrelated issues, but as I say, we did make a proposal to the land bank about 6 weeks ago involving, as I say, 4 items of additional or extended public benefit. And have not heard back from them. I don't know what that means, but we certainly are prepared to work with them, because although we think that the deed restrictions may not be applicable or may not follow exactly what the letter that they originally sent to the planning board would suggest. Nevertheless, we obviously want to work with them. We want to work with everybody to make sure that what we're doing here is the best and most appropriate resolution and solution for everyone.
Great, Arthur, thank you. And I guess, we'll find out next meeting. Hopefully they'll come back with something you all can work with by the next meeting. Nat?
No, I have a few things. I just want to, I don't want to lose Arthur's brilliant connection here. Arthur, can you hear us good?
I can hear you pretty well, yeah.
Okay. Not sure if this is sort of a staff question, but it's also kind of your question too. Is there anything right now preventing that building that used to actually be at the miniature golf course? Is there anything preventing that from being removed or moved off or demolished, whatever the term, the outcome is? Is there anything that's preventing that now?
It's already gone.
It's gone already?
No, it's up on blocks.
getting
and ready-
moved, though. I
yeah,
heard
it's gonna-
that
It hasn't been moved
last
yet,
week.
but it's ready to be moved.
Okay, so it's getting
Yeah.
moved and
Right.
not being torn down.
Right,
So that's
exactly.
good news.
Yep, it's
Gonna
being
be a
reused.
Gonna be the third location for that building, right? I can't remember the name of what that was though over there in my head. I could not think of it today. I've asked a couple people, they can't remember.
Mini
either.
golf?
Yeah, but what was the name? There was a name.
Yeah, bingo.
And that's it. That was it.
I'm thinking,
I feel dumb. I'm like, I
I
couldn't
think
think of it.
Andy and Nat's mini golf.
Listen, I can remember
it
the
could be
lamp post, I
repurposed.
can remember all that, but I could not think of it. Okay, so what could happen here? Like, other use, what could get put there? Like, this is where we get into what's allowed under zoning, existing use that's already being done, adding more of the same use versus a completely different use that could be done. And this is, to me, this is a nothing issue as far as the use. The parking and the in and out of those two schools predated all this because they shouldn't have been done that way, but you can't fix everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There should have been one entrance for both schools, and they should have veered off into their own parking. But the way it's set up now is just happens to be what we're dealing with. But the fact that there's a walkthrough you brought up at the beginning, that tells me that there's
Interaction.
the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like, people are utilizing space that's not being used to walk through, park over there, that kind of thing. So I see this as finding its own niche with all that, you know what I mean? You can't prove exactly how something's gonna work out. We dealt with that with Kitty Murtaugh's, 25 years ago. So, and now it works fine, because everybody got along and figured it out. So, I'm just curious, what could happen here as a use besides this?
Well, it's a tennis facility and a swim facility, so I guess if you didn't get the paddleball and the pickleball, you'd end up with another swimming pool, which
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
mean,
they
so
want. They definitely want the.
You could
rec
get,
fields.
something else could happen here.
Right.
It's not like this is the only thing that can happen.
Right.
And that's my point is, this is the evolution of activities and, it's just kind of a little bit like the Westmore Club, kind of at the beginning too, in a sense.
Yeah, I don't feel like people are chafing against that. I think that the concern is access and where the access is and how that works in relation to the school.
Well, what they're doing is better than the other plan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, coming back through the other side from 23 is stuff in the way over there to do that.
Right, when we,
That would be kind of a lot of destruction of trees and vegetation to get in there that way.
right, when we did the drainage upgrades and cleaning, we did contact Small Friends about when would be the best time for us to come in there and not be there, and they gave us a time frame, basically in the morning and the afternoon for an hour on each time, because the back trucks are pretty big and they're pretty loud and everything else, but they were just happy to have the drainage structures cleaned because they've been there for a while. But to your point too about one entrance, one exit, the club we did hire VHB. They came in, did traffic studies, traffic counts. We came up with different alternatives. In other words, you have the road coming out, where the facility used to be, and they lined it up, but unfortunately, both the new school and Small Friends weren't, they wanted there to be separate. They just didn't want to do it. So, but it was a good plan, and the engineers over there did come up with several options for them to look at, but they just weren't interested. And it's too late, as you said,
Yeah.
at this stage of the game.
And when
It wasn't thought through.
somebody's turning into one of them and you're pulling out, you don't know where they're going.
And we had a bypass, and they
don't.
came up with a lot of good alternatives to make all the sites work better, but again, you can't twist somebody's arm either.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anyone in the public?
Yeah, we have,
Still open.
we have Matt Dwyer with his hand raised.
Right.
And Matt, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm Matt Dwyer, and I'm a resident and voter 5 Monomoy Road, and I happen to be in effect, the president of Great Harbor. And I respectfully understand the chair's concern about the board's approval being used as a lever. And I want to assure you that would not be our intention. We have been having it's been a tremendous challenge, to put it mildly, to try to negotiating with, one-on-one with your neighbor is different than trying to get the attention of a board or an entity that is not singly controlled. And so my point is that I really believe that keeping these two issues separate and addressing the planning board's concerns under the planning board's purview will put us in a much better position, not to browbeat anyone, but simply to engage in a constructive conversation to allow us to offer public benefits that far exceed any perceived value of the of the setback restriction that is the heart of the issue with the land bank. Just so you know, that setback restriction has absolutely no requirement for it to be a buffer. It's a dimensional restriction similar to the zoning setback. And as you well know, town of Nantucket permits parking in the zoning setback. So that's the nub of the issue, really. We have no conflict with the small friends, and we have not in any kind of we're not on bad terms or battling or anything like that with the land bank. We're just simply trying to move this thing forward for the benefit of the community and our year-round resident members. That's all I have. Any questions for me, I'm happy to address them.
No, Matt, I appreciate the clarification, and I think that we can hopefully all work towards a resolution of this and make it work for you guys.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for your time, and more importantly, thank you, all of you, for your service to our community.
Thank you. Great. Yes, sir. Come on up and state your name, please.
Hi, my name's Luke Thornwell, and I'm really not speaking to the technical aspects of this, but I'm a tennis advocate for the island. I've been on the island 30 years, and I want to just give a little background to this project because Great Harbor Yacht Club has stepped up for the local community, so not just the exclusive club, and this goes back when I worked with the director of tennis, John Larink, actually helped design, master plan this project 25 years ago with Leo. This club was always sort of aimed at the locals to some extent, in that it was the players' club. And I'm now one of the coaches for the girls' tennis team. I have Dave McKay and Mark Girardi here also. We're all in support of what's happening here because this club really has made significant efforts to help our local tennis teams. 8 years ago, myself and Dave McKay started as the founding coaches on jetties, and we were in a blizzard. It was a wind tunnel. It was kind of a dire situation for our future tennis. When COVID came along, during those bleak days, our third season was knocked out altogether. But this club, Great Harbor Yacht Club, stepped up and offered us their facilities with David Cheever, who is another one of the members who helped lead the way in making it happen. And brought, in these days of COVID, which were they were dark days, we were able to bring our kids to a beautiful club. And it did a lot for the morale of these kids. And our program is really getting more and more robust every year. It's getting more popular. When schools come to play us from off island, they love coming to play at Great Harbor Yacht Club because there are 8 playable courts. And if we have a 9th, that's even better, because what that means is we can go way beyond our typical 5-match draws and include many of the other players who aren't so good. So for example, we have 16 girls on the team this year, and when teams came to visit us, normally only seven players would play. You have 3 singles matches and 2 doubles matches when we play another school. But when these off-island schools come to visit us, they love coming to Great Harbor because we can give them 8 courts, which gives us double the number of players that can actually participate. And so really my point here is one of gratitude. We have lights out. We have lights which enable us to keep the courts going. Last year, for example, Great Harbor entrusted us to oversee when John Larink wasn't here, to kind of keep the courts going. We had the courts going all year long. We had our kids playing out there, a few of them all year. It was an amazing thing. The lights allow the kids to play up to 9 o'clock at night. The Great Harbor leaves the lights on. These are small things, but they're huge for our kids and for our local players. So myself and many other local men and women players are also invited. It's not, I mean, it is an exclusive club, but they've been very inviting in terms of like not shutting us out, but keeping us included. And they're very welcoming. And I think just as a point of information, I thought it might be useful for you guys to know some of that background. And so it's with gratitude on behalf of all the coaches that I would express my support for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for the time. And like Luke,
State your name, please.
oh, sorry, I'm Mark Vanacore. I am a year-round resident here. I also happen to be on the board of the NRSA and on the construction committee over there. And similar to Luke, I'm not speaking about the technical aspects. I'll leave that to Arthur and other people. I just want to emphasize the popularity of pickleball on the island and know that I'm also on the pickleball committee at NRSA, so I run a lot of tournaments. It is, you probably know, it's the fastest growing sport in the country. Something like 45 to 50 million people are playing, which is twice as many as tennis at this point. Sorry, Luke. But and our courts over there are just in crazy high demand, especially during the summer months, but also people continue to play during, when the weather's nice like this. So I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is that, Great Harbor has allowed the public to play on the tennis courts, and the island needs more courts. I know the Westmore built the 4 courts over there. They were concerned would they get used, and now it's the most popular program there. So I guess I'm just emphasizing pickleball is here. It's a sport played by a lot of summer residents, but a lot of year-round players, and the need for these courts is, very crucial to the island. So that's
Great.
my point. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you.
And you were talking about a new sport coming into tennis.
Oh.
You said that.
Yeah, that's another sport called padel, which is another up-and-coming
Yeah, so that's a
popular
whole
sport.
other
Is it as loud as pickleball?
I don't know.
No,
the sound,
it's not.
but he's saying it's like just on fire right now. So
Nice.
that came
Interesting.
before CPC, that's why I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
This is gonna.
Very
I've been speaking a lot about pickleball lately, so.
Great.
But thanks for the time.
No, it's exciting to possibly have some more courts and not in a heavy residential district because they don't go hand in hand.
Right.
Anyone else from the public?
Yeah, we have one more hand raised
Okay.
online, Bruce Turner. 2 more. Bruce, you're unmuted.
Welcome, Bruce.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. I'm Bruce Turner. I live on Nantucket year-round. Moved here full-time in 2019. I am a member of Great Harbor, and I'm also the head high school sailing coach. I'm not here to talk about tennis. I don't play tennis. I'm here to say that Great Harbor's been a fantastic supporter for the community. They graciously host the sailing team out at the main facility in the sailing center there, and has been a great partner for community sailing and the high school athletic team department rather to support our sailing efforts. So I think it's really important that we note that how inclusive and part of the community Great Harbor is. I'd also make an interesting point. I don't know the gentleman's name who made the statement about leverage. I think the leverage comment goes both ways, though. By not moving on this, it implies that you're giving the land bank leverage. So it's not. It's a two-edged sword. Is my point. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we also have Kristen Graham. Kristen, you're unmuted.
Hi, Kristen, welcome. You might be muted still, Kristen.
No, I muted her for a second. Kristen, you should be able to unmute now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Hi. So I am, just like Luke, I just want to speak a little bit about the nature of the club and its impact on the year-round community. And I joined as a year-round tennis member, having barely ever played tennis, sort of right at a time when I wasn't so sure about living here year-round anymore. And I have to say that what John has done with the club and Great Harbor and how it's so seamlessly, it feels like a community no matter what sort of a player you are, whether you're a full club member, a resident member, or not a member at all, and able to play, during the hours or time of year that the courts are open to everyone. And it's just such an incredible community and such a welcome place. And I mean, it's changed my life experience here on Nantucket in so many ways. And it's just great to be out there, and even this time of year, and see all the locals playing, and sometimes mixed with, full members that are still there. And I think if, they are willing to extend playing privileges to whatever they do next door, that, which I know they've stated they would, it just adds even more to what Nantucket benefits from Great Harbor.
Great. Thank you, Kristen.
Sure.
We have one last hand raised, Jill Beath.
Welcome,
Jill,
Jill.
you're unmuted.
I don't know if you can see me or not. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to get on and express something similar Kristen did, that they do a lot for the community. And I think that it really has been a place to bring people together. I see a lot of year-round and seasonal residents there. I don't think you see that at other clubs, and in all instances. And I think they've worked really hard to do that. And I think adding more courts and more play, especially for pickleball, that really brings together even more ages and stages. It's really one of the only sports where older people and younger people and grandparents and grandkids can play together. It just adds a lot to the community. So I'd love to see them be able to expand that. And as you know, pickleball is really a growing sport. We don't have that many courts on the island. And I think it'd be a great addition, in addition to the other tennis courts. So I just know John Luriak has built something really special there. He's invested himself in it, and he's really recruited a lot of people, especially the tennis team for the high school has been an amazing, I can't believe how that's exploded. And they're doing all that, for free. And we wouldn't really have a tennis team if it wasn't for them letting them use those courts, especially in the beginning, the early years. So I'm just really grateful to them, and I wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Anybody else?
No more online.
All right, great. Arthur, are you good?
Yep.
Okay.
Chairman, I'm gonna say something else, since no one else is gonna yet. Now that I understand what's going on here, this is a no-brainer. I don't even know what we're arguing about. And this is ridiculous. This is a great benefit. Stuff that Luke said, I mean, this reminds me of when we talk about the turf fields and there's not enough space and there's always gonna be more sports here because we're more connected to the mainland now than we were 25 years ago, and things change. And the fact that the schools are using these courts, like, that's a big deal. Like, I didn't know that. I mean, okay, this isn't just, rich summer people playing paddle pickleball. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a whole different animal, and I didn't know that until today. So this is how Westmore evolved when they had the year-round, the year-round memberships for the underutilized off-season gym building, you know? All the opposition to these things, when they first starts to find its way to normal, and that's what this is doing. It's like a golf club. Look what they do for us now. Nobody wanted that place built, I can tell you that. So there's a lot of things, a lot of good things happening at Rehavi Yacht Club for the public, and this is something I didn't realize this was happening. And so I see this as just adding an existing use to a spot that's going to become something else, or if it's not this. So as far as the land bank restriction part, I mean, that's old and it needs to be worked out. You know, they have pickleball courts on the other side of this. I mean, I just don't see a problem with this. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, now that it's become more clear to me, which I didn't really understand all this when this was brought to us before. So, and I'm not playing pickleball, so I can tell you that. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yet to be seen, Matt. John?
Well, I just want to follow up from Nat, because what Luke said resonated with me a lot.
Yeah.
In a little different way, though. You know, for our kids on the island, academics is one thing, you know, and the way forward in their lives is one thing. But being able to get the opportunity to play first-class tennis in a first-class facility, first-class access to first-class coaches, I mean, this, I am sure, if we look back at some of the kids that played here in the past, it's probably had a very positive impact on where they went with their lives. And as we started this meeting, I was concerned, and still am a little concerned about the land bank. But really, you know, the overwhelming value that this is going to have on, you know, a fair number of kids every year. I sort of am where Nat is, that the land bank seems to be the negative part of it seems to be outweighed by an awful lot of positive for me, for, you know, for our kids. And my kids are, you know, grown and gone, so, but still, yeah, I kind of.
No, I agree. We got a job to do. We have to do it. And hopefully this will work out.
So sitting on the CPC and watching what the land bank is going to do, it's kind of surprised that they're not trying to work with these guys, because I feel if the funding goes to CPC and the land bank is able to do what they're going to do, this expansion is going to happen. I feel like this is going to be the hub. I think that Luke and the gang are going to have tournaments, and Emma's going to want to go there as someone that grew up playing tennis and platform tennis over across from Don Allen Ford. Like, this is something that would be great, that it keeps growing, and I think this is a really positive thing. So I hope by our next meeting, there's some movement, there's some agreement in place, because I think this would be extremely beneficial for the entire community, for someone to open up their club, that's a private club, to the public in the way they have. I think it's a really good thing, and I think that this is kind of sad that they're stuck on a stumbling block, and they can't move forward.
No, I
So
agree,
it's just-
I
really
don't
want to push them forward.
I certainly hope that the land bank doesn't put us in an awkward position next month when we hear this again. So I would entertain a motion to continue this. There's no one else.
Motion to continue.
Second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank
you,
you all. All right, we are on to 21 Pilgrim Road. 21 Pilgrim Road, Dan Malloy.
I'm moving Dan over right now.
Good evening.
Dan, you ready? Go ahead, make a presentation.
All right, so 21 Pilgrim Road, the property's been before the board a couple of other times, most recently for an amendment to the previous subdivision to amend some property lines. As part of that previous review and approval, just the right one. Yeah, so as part of the previous review and approval, there was confirmation by the board. Apparently, when the subdivision was first approved, there was a 15-foot front setback put on the property from Pilgrim Road, and that was ratified again at the last hearing regarding this property. What the owners are in the process of doing right now, they've got approvals for HDC approvals for houses and dwellings on the property. When they did all that work, and as part of some other restrictions on the property, all of their design work has an intrusion, which you can see hatched in that on the front left of that property, is an intrusion based on what they're proposing to build into that 15-foot imposed setback line. So the typical setback here is 10 feet. I was not part of the original approval, so I don't know where the 15 feet originally came from back when this was first approved quite some time ago. So what we're asking the board to consider is a minor amount of relief to allow a portion of a dwelling to be within the 15-foot imposed setback, but obviously outside the zoning 10-foot setback. So we're looking at an 11-foot setback at its closest point with a square footage of 41 square feet. That is it.
Okay. Commissioners have any comments?
Yeah. I have a question, Meg, I don't know if you can answer this or not. One of you can. Does R5 have the same setback, because this is R1, and it's probably gonna be changed at some point? So is it the same? I think it is, I just don't have it in my head.
Megan, while you're looking, can I ask Dan a question? Hey, Dan?
Yes.
Is this gonna be like a two-story structure, or is it gonna be a single story that's kind of encroaching into this area? Like, what are we looking at?
Let me check on that. I don't know off the top of my head if that's a two-story or single.
So R1 has a front setback of 10 feet, R5 has front setback of 10 feet, and they're both 5-foot side and rear.
Okay.
So R5 limited has a little bit different, 10 foot on one, 5 on the other side.
Okay,
Similar.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So that, nothing would change. Okay.
So that would be a two-story building.
Okay. That portion would be, or the,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
It's the corner, the way the building is situated. There's a building restriction line. The property is being developed to the right, which you're not seeing is a second lot. So it's being developed as one property instead of two. And there's building restriction requirements further to the right that are essentially dictating where things can go. And that forced them into this corner.
Gotcha. Anything else?
Anyone else? You know, my concern here is we've clarified this not that long ago. And stood by the original setback, so I'm not sure why we would at this point change our mind. And that's my concern.
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Does anyone know? Is this one of these, handshake things? This is all dirt. I mean, where did it come from? I mean, it's kind of strange. It doesn't make a lot of sense. There had to be a reason
When
for it.
you look at the map, it looks like everything from the hard corner down to this lot is set back close to 15 feet. It's not till you get well beyond this more towards Kingsway or whatever that is, that it narrows down.
Yeah.
But there's two structures flanking this that are at 10-foot setbacks, and one's at like 12.
Where are they?
There's a building to the north, it's at 12, building to the south, it's at 11.
So that's like 12, and then that's 11 B, and that was at 11.
You know, if we could pull the original
It was a condition in the original decision,
subdivision plan, right? for
yeah, the
Sophie's Way.
original, was it Sophie's Way decision, so I wasn't a part of that specific process, but if it was so far as to be condition, I can only assume that it had to do with mitigating perhaps changes to the character of the neighborhood. So those types of conditions can be put into place when waivers are sought and granted kind of as a in lieu of or compromise, if you will. So I would have to assume that that was the reason for that condition at that time.
I mean, I feel like before we take a step to go back on a decision that we made as a board, we should probably see the minutes in the original decision to fully understand that before we, I mean, I'm not trying to stall out on you here, Dan, because the other option's to say no, and I just think to be fair to everyone, we should understand why that setback was put in place at that time, and if it's still a viable reason. Anyone have an issue with that?
No.
No.
I don't have an issue continuing if that's what you'd like to do, because I don't know the history either.
Yeah, okay, so why don't we do that? Let's open up the public hearing though and see if we have any input from anyone, and then we can continue this till the next meeting when we have better information. Anybody out there in Zoom world?
No one's online.
No one's in the room. Okay,
All right,
I would
so-
entertain a motion to continue.
That's my motion, sir.
Second.
All right, motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
It'd be wise to do a drive-by as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
site visit would be a good thing too,
Yep.
yeah.
For sure. Okay.
Good point.
So now we are on to FDC 86A and 88 Old South Road, Van Gilder. Ms. Williams?
And Billy, have you brought over Greg Sad?
Yeah, I'm moving him over right now.
Okay.
And for the record, Linda Molden,
Huh?
so you know.
Your thing isn't on. Okay. There was generally a pretty positive meeting the last time we were here, and you were focused on screening, and you were focused on having an inclusionary unit on site. We didn't really need an office, so we took the office out and put in a handicap accessible unit. So there we have it. And as far as screening, there's another one. Megan, are you able to put that up there? We've been going round and around what type of screening the deer won't eat. And also allowed visibility when they're pulling in and out, and also gave some protection visually around the perimeter. So we finally settled on a certain type of cedar, but it has to be year-round vegetation. Some of the other vegetation that was put to me this week was like, they're going to eat the whole thing down to the nub. So we redid the, there it is on the screen, if you want to turn around and look at it. We redid it with stuff that is perennial year-round and thicker, and something the deer aren't going to like. So it's cedars around the perimeter. There is some screening on the front. Some of the screening beyond our property line is being put in as you required from Jeff Kasulik. So the two things on the bottom, the U and I can't remember what else is down there, are being put in by Jeff Kasulik as part of his requirement from you guys when you did the subdivision. So any other questions, we're here for it. And Greg is up there if Greg wants to add anything. Billy, he's over now. All right, Greg, do you want to add anything?
I'm good. I think that, thank you for letting me come back and address this. we really did. Linda understated how many times we bounced around with issues until she held my hand and said, you don't want to put certain plants there. In Alabama, the deer will have so much to eat, they will eat what they're supposed to. But this is a plan that incorporates, as you can see, a different grass than last time. And we're going to incorporate boxwood both on a shrub level and to allow it to extend upward. And those are in the front where you see the number 2s right there to get them higher. So yeah, right there. Right there on the side as well of the site where the parking, the employee parking is located, and then to the front around the dumpster area. But yeah, we worked back and forth with PepsiCo and Frito on the issue of inclusionary housing, and they have such little need for office. This is the conclusion that they adopted for this use.
Mhm. Good.
And we appreciate that.
Yes, very much
Yeah,
so.
Very much so.
Thank you. Has Ed Pesci done a review on this?
Yeah, he
Yes.
saw it well before we came in here. I made them meet up with him 2 months before we ever came in here.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. He looked at this a while back and he was comfortable. Yeah, they've satisfied everything he had asked for.
Great.
Public, anyone in the public?
Not online.
I think they were
Mr. Sada,
mostly, Mr. Chairman, they were mostly concerned about the screening and the noise break, and we don't have any actually openings on the back side of it.
Good.
And they already agreed to the hours, especially on Sundays, and so I think we've worked through most of it.
Excellent.
And again, Mr. Sada, I cannot make it any more clear that we truly appreciate your attention to our concerns about inclusionary housing and that you didn't hem and haw and beat around the bush and you made it happen and we
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. May I say that to the credit of an incredible global company, PepsiCo and Frito team, they really got together and elevated this up a long ways to get this approved. And they really did. This is very unusual for them. So thank you for letting me have the opportunity to go to them, and what a great cooperation we received from their upper level folks.
Yeah. Great. Excellent. I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing, sir.
I wanna
Oh, did you have
hold
something?
on for 1 second.
Perhaps I'll hold on for 2.
I just got a text from someone saying, is this the Frito Way?
Oh,
So,
are they coming on board?
yeah.
Okay, so,
No, his concern is, and I appreciate his concern, but I don't think it's gonna be an issue, is that, all construction work is gonna go through Van Gilder. It's not gonna go through any.
No.
Correct.
No intention of cutting through
Through
to
Eagle
the
Lane or anything.
residentials,
Okay.
absolutely not.
All right, perfect.
It's all
And
coming
we're
up
just
Van
gonna-
Gilder.
We're gonna put that in our conditions.
Right, no access period, ever.
Okay. Perfect. So your motion was, as long as we don't have anyone else?
to close the public hearing, sir, then.
Second?
Motion made by Barry, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye. And
That's for the merits.
Can I just add one thing? Should we do like a maintenance or a contract of like shampoo or barley trees or someone just to kind of maintain these until they're set? Because otherwise I just feel like if they're put in and they're not watered, they're not taken care of. And then once they're matured, then there could be a problem.
No, we have no intention of killing everything.
No, I'm
we're
not
putting
saying
in there.
killing, but you're gonna have loss of trees. Like you're not gonna get 100% vegetation take off.
But you can't identify anybody.
No, I'm not trying to, I'm using names, so.
Well,
your
maintain
landscape-
the screening is what we usually put in for when we were doing ZBA stuff, is maintaining the screening.
I'd like to see some agreement
Yeah.
from someone to go by there. Yeah,
We're
just to
gonna
make
have
sure
that into a
it's.
condition.
Well, by virtue of this being a special permit as well, too, I mean, that is essentially covered, and if, either staff or someone is complaining about the nature of the thing, the last thing they want to do is have to come back and
No, I
have
just want
that
to get on
special.
the record because I know the neighbors were concerned, so I just want to get in the minutes.
I don't think
Okay.
that, I don't think you can require that we have a contract, that you just maintain the screening.
Yeah,
Listen,
but-
you can get dragged back in here if all your screening dies.
Yeah.
I misspoke,
Can I
but
offer
you
a
understand what I was
suggestion?
doing.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
please.
so in the staff report, it was listed that an updated landscape plan be submitted and reviewed and approved by staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. Obviously, we received that this morning. Staff is supportive of that, so perhaps changing that language that the applicant must maintain the vegetative buffer and landscaping in substantial compliance with the plan submitted.
Oh.
That's great.
Something to that effect.
Perfect.
Meg is on fire as always.
Just always.
So with that in play, I'll make a motion. We approve the applications with the findings and conditions as identified by staff and with the new change that we just talked about.
I will second that.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you very much, all members of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saad. Love saying that, I'm sorry, Billy.
I'm bringing Dan Malloy back over for
Thank you.
Jeff Smith.
All right. J. Smith, Inc., Bunker Road. Mr. Malloy.
Good afternoon again.
Hey, long time.
So at the last meeting, if I recall correctly, I don't know that the board itself had any specific issues with the application at that time. We were waiting for the airport commission to complete, or at least complete their review to the satisfaction of the planning board process. And there is an email in your packets, I believe, from Noah Carberg, the airport commissioner, essentially stating at this time, the airport commission is satisfied with the planning board process moving forward. So that was the last remaining item. There's also an email in there about Mark Willett from Wanacoma Water Company agreeing that relocating the water main can be done. So I think those are the only two items the board was looking for.
That was, I believe. So, any questions from the board, concerns? And we have a management plan, we know what's gonna be stored in the containers and not stored in containers, correct?
So the recommended condition is that they're used for storage purposes only and that no hazardous materials shall be stored on site.
Great. Do we have anyone in the public? This is still an open public meeting, public comment.
No, there are 5 people online right now.
None of them with that. No.
We're all good.
No one in the room? Pleasure of the board.
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye. Want to do this?
For the merits?
Make a motion that we approve the findings and the 5 conditions from staff.
Second that.
Motion made by Nat, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, Daniel Saragold, 12 Essex Road.
Aye.
Welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey.
We're ready when you are.
Okay, great. This is phase 2 of our process here at 12 Essex Road. We are looking to add an additional 2-bedroom basement apartment in the rear structure. As you can see from the staff report, we have an existing 3-bedroom formally categorized as a single-family dwelling up front. And according to research and process, it sounds like we want to redefine that as an apartment in and of itself. If you are so inclined to approve the proposed application. We have an existing two-bedroom apartment above the 2 garage bays. We have 2 garage bays, and we are proposing a new 2-bedroom apartment in the rear structure. We have 7 parking spots, according to the new calculation, as also mentioned in the report. We need 9, and I do believe we could add 1 more. I'm not sure about 2 more, but open to the conversation.
All righty. Board members? I'll jump in. I have great concern about any parking waivers in this area.
Okay,
It's
totally
just-
understand.
It's almost a non-starter for anyone that's driven down this road. It's
Mhm.
challenging at best, and I think that our job is to try to make things better and not add to the burden, so that's my concern.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, when this was done, like many other, areas, there was no on-street parking. No one ever thought of it.
Right.
It's just, I've looked around at that for years. I'm like, no on-street, no on-street. We just didn't think about it. Did before cars, but we didn't think of it after cars, somehow.
We appreciate more housing, but
Yeah,
that housing doesn't help if there's no place for someone to
Yeah,
park.
and I do believe, as you can see, we can fit 2 more spots.
Okay, so if you can do that, me personally, I don't know what the rest of the board says. I don't have an issue with that.
No, I think we're all with it.
Yeah.
Driven by this, through this property.
Anyone out there?
No hands are raised
No hands
online
are
right now.
What are you thinking, board?
So through you, it'll be 8 spaces instead of 9, correct, is what we're?
We need 9,
9, I
correct?
believe.
It would be
Yeah.
9?
We need 9.
We'd be adding 2 more.
Yeah, so,
All right.
I guess we could.
3, 4, 5, 6.
I may have messed up I'm looking at this. She had submitted a second site plan that showed a 7th
Oh.
right next to number
Okay,
6.
that's,
Yeah,
I'm
just
looking and I'm
catching
looking and I'm
that now,
looking
sorry.
and I'm like,
Sorry, yeah, we
can
did
fit
add a 7th one already.
okay,
Yeah, it should have been right here.
Exactly.
okay. And you can squeeze in 2 more above and beyond that, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But I think that if, I don't know what Meg says here, but we could approve it with, as long as we get a site plan showing those.
With a condition.
Revised
With a
site plan.
condition
Yeah.
and a site plan showing those extra parking spaces. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a condition with that and a condition that there shall be no on-street parking. Just
Absolutely.
because
There ain't
on-street
no
place
parking
to
on
park.
private roads is a little bit of a difficulty to enforce, so if
Sure.
we put it in the decision, it becomes a matter of zoning. So
Could
can
we make
get at
one of the other
enforcement that
lots,
way.
like the 7
I like
by
it.
17, have 2 of those?
It looks like they have a
They got
7 by
1, but I don't know
17
if we
that,
can grant them 2.
yeah, so you can grant them.
I would,
you
'cause
can
that would
grant
help
them
out
the
a lot.
flexibility
Stack them?
if they
That
need
would
Not
be-
stack it, but they could go on the other side, like along that stairway. I feel like they could sneak in a 7 by
Yeah, that would be
17, and
helpful,
then-
for sure.
And then number 7 is there.
Okay.
So you
I
can
feel like
grant them the flexibility
I
to
feel it would
utilize
help them
that
out
as
a lot.
needed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
this area should stay free. This right here is sort of the shared entrance between the 2
Yeah,
You're gonna be backing up a lot.
addresses.
not ideal, but
My favorite thing.
we got parking spots and we got more housing.
Yes.
Those are both good
And I will
things.
say these particular applicants have always had all of their parking off the street, have the support of the homeowners association, and are very well aware and cautious of all of it.
Excellent.
Great,
Yeah.
We
Okay.
do have a hand up now.
okay, great. What do we have?
We have Tony Mazzotis.
Welcome, Tony.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, hi. I'm the treasurer of the homeowner association on Essex Road. We agree with the parking, keeping it off the road. I know I've talked to Dan personally, and he has no problem with that. We, as an association, just recently changed a paragraph in the Declaration of Restrictions and Easements to address the parking on the road, basically make it tough. And so far, we're working on it. We're down to maybe 2-3 cars overnight now.
Great.
Second, when you guys were looking at the previous amendment to the for the add more, I forget what it is. You had a meeting on the 8th and the 12th of February. Okay, and that was for
Modification to the subdivision, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
right, it was to change the covenant for the plan. And at the same time, we had forwarded a letter to you guys saying we agree, no problem as long as there's no parking. The second thing is in that other meetings, they talked about it's been a past practice that any lot allowed additional dwelling units shall be subject to a monetary contribution to the HOA. Essex Road, since we are a private road, we rely upon the funding. So they talked about a funding of the contribution of at least 21 grand from Dan. So I don't know what happened to that because it wasn't in the staff notes for today. So I was wondering if you could take that in consideration.
Was that in the original, in the decision we made?
I'd have to look into it, but I would say just to cover your bases, go ahead and reflect that in this decision too as a condition. So the exact
Agreed.
figure, to be determined, but it was in the ballpark of
Yep.
$21,000-ish
Okay.
dollars.
But never made it to, well, we'll figure that out. If it
yeah.
didn't, then it'll be in this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out to us, John.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you.
Yes.
Just to clarify, so is that number 21,000, he'll be obligated to pay that, or that's up for a discussion?
No, obligated to pay. It's based on, there was different prices for different lots in
Okay.
that subdivision based on how many how many units it had on it. And so when that covenant on that lot changed, it basically brings parity,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Did I describe that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I feel like it was like a $10,000 difference back in the 90s. So you just plug it into just a strict inflation calculator. So it doesn't obviously take into account real estate values specific to Nantucket, but it's really the only comparison that you can use.
Probably
So
getting off cheap.
when other additional housing units have been allowed in the past, the planning board has required that a contribution be made and whatever that equivalent is at
At the
that
time,
time
yeah.
to
Right.
the HOA.
Correct. And does the applicant have an opportunity to reintroduce the conversation with you if it becomes a burden?
I think he should
I
take it
just
up
am
with the
covering all my
HOA.
bases,
Yeah,
so I'm
it's gonna be-
educated, yeah.
I think he needs to take it up with the
Okay,
HOA.
Yeah.
got it.
And if that implodes, then maybe it ends up, but I don't know.
Just so
that
I
it ends up-
understand, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tony's done. Anyone else online? Nope.
No more online.
All right, and nobody in the room?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Made by Nat, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, those two had something going on behind you.
Oh.
All right, as to the merits.
I'll make a motion. We approve the application as submitted with any additional findings, conditions that will be identified by staff and making sure that they also clarify the HOA
In the-
conditions for dealing with this.
Yeah,
Was
so
there something else?
In
I have the
Dave's thing
Yeah.
with the
parking.
plan is
Yeah.
not technically what's.
Oh, yeah, no, that, we definitely need to
The
revise
site plan
So I
per
have an
staff
updated
review.
site plan submitted to staff, put a deadline on that, say 6 months. No parking on the street, and then the funding condition consistent with recent applications.
There you go. Perfect.
Great.
And one of those spots will be able to be the 7 by 17.
Oh, yes.
What's that?
one of the spots could be a second 7x17, we discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think the board's good with that. Yes, Ganesh?
Yeah, I think 2 of those would be really helpful.
Perfect.
I'll second.
There you go.
Okay, so motion made by Barry, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, Dan Malloy's been on the hot seat all day.
Yes, he
hasn't
has.
Yeah, I gotta,
It's gonna get real hot now.
I don't think so.
it shouldn't be.
See if we can drag it another year. No, kidding.
Good evening again.
No.
I'm gonna be on the seat for a while.
What you're saying.
Dan's earning his paycheck.
Dan, don't listen to us at all. Well, right this second at least. Action Island LLC, ACK Offices LLC, 1818A 2022, 2426 Sparks Avenue, Dan Malloy.
Okay, so good evening again. I think everyone knew this was coming. It's been contemplated for a while. So the HTC did approve a building configuration at Sparks Ave. The building configuration looking at, that's what reflects the HTC approval. So we're before you tonight, essentially to give you an updated site plan to show you where things stand, where things are going. In terms of the planning board approval, the building changes don't impact the approval from any type of conditional issue. We still have the same parking lot. We still have the same sidewalks, the same utilities. Essentially, all of the building changes were able to happen within the footprint area of the previous building. So we didn't have to change the parking lot. We didn't have to change the entrances. So it really worked out quite well. So what you're seeing here is 2 separate buildings instead of one big one. There is a slight reduction in overall building square footage on the ground by about, I think it was around 700 square feet or so. The uses of the buildings, intensity, everything remains essentially the same. The parking demand remains the same. So and I can go through what's happening in each building, but essentially what you're seeing here from the conditions of the planning board approval, we're not asking to change anything. No additional relief, no changes to the approval. It's really just it's an update to the board so you know what's going on, what the plan now looks like. Assuming the board, if you're okay with this tonight, we'll be getting an updated set of site plans over to Ed Pesci so he has a chance to give an updated review of this. There won't be any, like I said, there's not any substantial technical changes. It's really just working within the building area that was already approved. So in terms of what's going on, the larger building, the building on the right, building number 1, that building will contain the bowling alley on the right side, the large portion of the building that's perpendicular to the street. That's on the first floor, and then the remaining portion of the first floor will be a restaurant that goes with the bowling alley. And then the second and third floor will all be apartments. And then building 2 on the left will have the smaller takeout food restaurant on the first floor with a couple of apartments. And then again, second and third floor, all apartments. So in essence, it's the building you saw before with a gap between it to separate it in terms of scale and density of what's happening. That's all there is for the update.
Great, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Where are we, and Dan, and maybe Joe could just kind of fill us back in. I know our talks for the shared access failed, but where are we with that? Is there an option to get back to it? Is there, and I'm not looking to hold this up, don't get scared, Dan. I just.
Dan, do you want to recap or you want me?
I can, so basically we haven't spoken to them since the whole thing pretty much fell apart previously. I mean, I don't mind reaching out to them again to see if they're interested in talking. If I don't have luck, I'm happy to pass on the contact information to the staff and see where it goes from there. I mean, I don't mind making the initial introduction at a minimum to see what happens.
So kind of my understanding, Dan, was that the locks were in favor of, like, 6 months after, readdressing, eliminating one of the curb cuts. To go back to Nat's point earlier tonight, we're talking about
Yeah.
the new school and like all this problem right now, and we're gonna be the ones get blamed. The five of us and anyone online on the planning board, we're gonna get blamed for this. So anyway, we can really get this to work. I felt like the locks were in favor of working with us. As you know, there was a couple little tense moments in there, but I think if we could, hopefully the dust has settled, readdress it. I think if you were the person to reach out, maybe with staff as well, you know, I would, of course, would be part of the meeting, but I really feel like we were close to having a deal in place. And then the other part of that, because it was two problems that it was having, was one was basically creating this to look like it was one lot. And I think the other thing is we're doing this off of Old South Road, that's, you know, be coming forward. But a management plan that you guys work together with the locks, you know, when snow needs to be removed and et cetera, it's one system. If there's a parking problem, it's your problem, not one side or the other. I think that's our problem. Thank you. And that's really, I think, would be beneficial to the community. I really think it's super important. And I'd like for you to, you know, take a month or two and really see if you can't put something together in place, because from what I was witnessing, is that the locks definitely want to do right for Nantucket and for everyone to have a safe area that people could come, go, use the spaces, go to Cumbies, get gas, etc. It just would work as one plan. I know they're individuals, but something that would work that way, I think would be extremely helpful, and I hope that's an achievable goal. Thank you.
I mean,
That's not a problem. I'm happy to start that discussion again, and I'll let everybody knows where it goes, then get everybody involved.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not holding this application up for that. Don't get the wrong idea. I think it's important that the discussion remains open and continues on, because there's an opportunity to make it right, probably for a long period of time before this really happens.
Yeah, I like it.
Can I add to that? Dan, thanks, Dan. Thanks for hanging in there through this. What Joe said and what Dave just said, you know, this is like a year later in my mind, maybe longer. What about the wasted land, Dan? The amount of extra parking on the previous concept, forget about the HDC building part. I'm talking about what your plan was with the Cumberlands becoming two-way, added a ton of parking that was gonna be shared. And I think that now that everyone, you know, the dust has settled a little bit, it's a kind of a no-brainer. I just can't believe that in 2024, we can't agree that two curb cuts right next to each other on a road like that is the wrong thing. And I mean, there has to be some way to, I mean, I don't want to say the word leverage that was used earlier, but it is kind of obvious. And the gas station, when you pull out of the gas station, you're in England for about 50 feet. I mean, I'll say it again. I just did it recently. You're kind of in England for 50 feet.
Northern Ireland.
You kind of really, well, Ireland is left, I mean, whatever. It's like, you're kind of like, okay, am I going to the left of the car that just came in, or are they gonna go over and I'm gonna go to the right? Like, you don't know. And I think that when we approved, and I hate going back when, you know, only Barry was here. I mean, but when we approved that, it wasn't Cumberland. It was a commercial building. There was no technical, I think it was a bakery or something it was talked about. It wasn't like Cumberland, I can tell you that. And now it's had how many years? 12 years or so to sort of happen. And those two entities work perfectly well. The gas station, the way the truck pulls in, comes around Sanford Road. Now we're doing the same thing we did to fix that mess and a little bit more than that. 4 properties combined to one. I mean, it makes sense to fix it. I just can't believe we can't start fresh and come up with a plan to change it.
So the one great thing about that meeting is Dan had a conceptual plan.
I know.
And that really, that everyone got to see it, everyone got to kind of go over how it all worked in the flow. I mean, not to say we don't want to go a little bit deeper into some of the nuts and bolts of the layout and the pattern of traffic, but he had something prepared, which I thought was really instrumental in helping the lock see the light.
And the other thing, I went over there after all that, Joe, with a tape measure, you know, Mr. Tape Measure that I am, and I went over there, it's 22 feet wide.
Yeah.
That's wider than Sconset Road. I mean, hello, the way the truck pulls in, they come in on the gas station side. And they wiggle jiggle through that menagerie to get the truck to go to the other side, but they don't actually use the loading zone in the direction that it was designed for. It goes, they're backwards.
So that was part
And
of
it's
our
like they could pull in perfectly now and back that truck up to that spot where they put the ramp down.
and that was part of the discussion.
I mean,
Yeah.
So
it's just, it will be our fault.
Everything's our fault.
Every car that came here since
well, that's why I'm
1918
making
is
this
our
statement
fault.
that
Isn't it your
So,
fault that the boat
This
doesn't
is,
come
will
from
be
Woods
our
Hole?
fault.
No, I mean, I think it was like an hour and a half meeting that we had. So I'd do another one. If we can find a plan that would work for everyone, I think.
I just don't want to see, you don't build things twice this day and age.
I get
And that's
that.
another part,
I get
because
that,
he
but
said,
that-
let's see how it works and all that, and it's like,
Well,
but that's.
But there was such tension that
I know.
they were at the table and they wanted to go forward. So that's
So,
where maybe
listen,
they
yeah,
go.
Dan could give it the soft sell
Yeah.
and see what we can do here. Do we have anyone in the public that wants to?
Before you jump off,
Yep.
just work with me for a second. The pedestrian easement that's on the backside of Cumberland's
Yep.
could really use a little bit of house cleaning, maintenance, a little formalization. Do you think that if there was a gift presented toward getting that maybe up to speed a little more, that might even sweeten the deal a bit more? Or best to let that sleeping dog lie?
I think
I
money
don't
is
have an
going
answer
to-
either way.
Money is going to sully the discussion.
What's that?
I think money would sully the discussion. But maybe not, I don't know.
It was just a thought. I mean, I don't want to, again, I don't want to throw everything to hell in a handbasket, but it was just a thought that maybe that might be a little bit more of an
Joe was in
enticement.
the room, I think he'd be best to address his feelings about.
Yeah, that's a kind of tough one, but I definitely think like that green line that we're looking on the site plan.
Yeah.
That went away. It almost became one large massive lot, including companies all the way here, going as far as, and even working in with, sorry, Chris Young's business. Everything was brought in as one plan, and I really thought that was really a great job that Dan had tied in everything together and took it as one property owner. And we know they're individual, but that's would be the success of this whole project,
Agreed.
architecture aside.
If we could get that accomplished, that'd be great. I don't want to throw more things in there that would.
I have faith in Dan Malone.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Joe, if this
No pressure,
project
Dan.
If this
Thanks.
project was
Appreciate it.
happening without anything else done yet, this reverses, it's still Danny Dias's gas station, and we didn't have Cumberland, and this was happening now, we would be making this just for this job. Just like the other one was. Now, all of a sudden, we have it's like having two little malls without any way to cross over. That just, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, we're too far in on Nantucket with the traffic discussion. We have Stop and Shop is finished, although there's a few little things that could happen there still, like that curb jots out a little bit. But the Sun gets those trailers in there. Amazing what they do.
It's impressive.
And this is the last piece of, other than the Craig property stuff, that's gonna happen in this spot. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say, you know?
Well-
I mean to say like there's nothing. I'm saying in this block. So.
But every concern you had was discussed.
Yeah.
So that's on Dan's list of, in his design, working together with these two owners and not, you know, throwing Chris out of the equation.
Yeah.
If you will.
I mean,
Because that was really important as well.
I know there was issues about money and all that before, but maybe that can all sort of find its way.
That went away.
Yeah,
That was-
okay,
that
good.
was taken off
Because
the
that's
table.
another whole conversation.
No, it was, I would say like the first 10 minutes were quite tense. And then after that,
It's better to have a voluntary, like the way that thing that Barry just brought up was done, Joe, it was amazing. First thing we talked about was, okay, where are the bikes gonna go?
Right.
Where are the people gonna go? You can't make people walk all the way to Hooper Farm Road.
Yeah.
From over there, they're right there, and they're walking way over there to go to the store, that's insane. So we got that done when that project happened, like before we even started talking, which is unbelievable, like the 10 feet for the Boys Club with the other project that never happened. But they got their football fields 100 yards now. So, but this is something that you can see what's wrong. Like, it's not like you don't have to like say, well, it may work. It needs to be clear pulling in and out.
Well, we'd go back an
You
hour
know,
in our
I know.
meeting and just talk about Great Albert Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, that there was something in place. Well, this is gonna be the same thing.
This doesn't have to be done wrong, just
No.
because it can be done right.
Yeah, I mean, just the use
So-
of watching people go from companies to Stop and Shop and walking back and forth and then coming out and grabbing gas. I mean, it's gonna be problematic, and if we can address a lot of those and get 99% of the problems out. it would
And
be
I
great.
think, and as much as I hate to even say this, because this was brought up before, I think Andrew brought it up as well, is there's certain things that we can do to kind of force something like this to work. Because this is a public use, private property, but it's public. And there has to be I don't want to do that personally.
No.
But I think that things have calmed a little bit, and maybe we can start over a little. You know what I mean?
You know that, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just going back to the Great Harbour conversation we had tonight, what changed most things? It was someone
Yep.
from the public.
That knows what's going on.
Standing up and telling us about why, for the community,
Yeah.
that was such a good decision. And at least two of us, that's what, well, more than, you know, that's what swung it.
Yeah.
That's what swung it. That like, we can sit here all we want, but the people that live here, our community, what these fellows were talking about was what really
Yeah.
counted. And I think there's some, you know, Dan doing his thing is good, but, you know, the community would probably have a very positive leverage on making this happen somehow. And I don't know how to do that, but this impacts a lot of us on the island. Every day, this is going to impact us. And perhaps if we could have a voice for that somehow, maybe that would help, other than just another negotiation.
And not to put you on the spot again, Dan, but I felt like he did a really good job in that meeting. And I think it worked, but he had that plan prepared for the meeting, which was great. I think that once we move past the money and all that other issues, things were coming together, and that's when it was like,
Great.
Right to here and wait, but now that they are on the, you know, right, getting their approval, you know, they're right on the cusp of it, maybe they'll come back and say, this is the right thing to do. And then they thought about it and took into that meeting, so.
Yep.
Let's just see what comes back.
Sounds good. You notice that?
Yeah. Do jumper jacks or something like that.
Yeah.
Those guys with no hair, man. It ain't easy. All righty.
Can I just ask one quick question to Dan? That's not a curb cut in the middle of the two buildings, right? That's just, looks like it is, but it's not, correct?
It's a walkway.
Okay, good. Just checking.
What are you trying to do, squeeze a Mini Cooper
Just
down there or
checking.
something?
Matt doesn't like to walk far with his tools.
Listen, you're gonna need a dolly.
Yeah.
Fold up.
All righty. Nobody in the room?
Sounds like it's a motion to continue to November.
Okay.
Is there something you want me to provide for continuance?
Yeah, I'm not sure why we're.
Well, I thought he was gonna try to work some, I think you boys were gonna try to work some things.
This guy has been, and.
No, I
trust me, you
understand.
know
I
how
just-
voted on this.
I'm just thinking that, well, it's either get revisions to it or see where things can track. I mean, I'm kind of fine either way where we're at, but
I feel like we need to
move ahead.
move ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
No, and I think that things will take care of themselves. This isn't gonna
Okay.
happen in 10
I
minutes.
told you to close the public hearing.
Too late. Too late.
Linda?
We have, since before this project really got going with you guys, had conversations with Cumbies. And they were not interested without being paid that. Okay? It's off the table.
Yep.
But we have continued to try to work with them. We haven't, obviously, because we were so wrapped up going through month after month after month with the HDC, gone back to that. If you would just move this along, we will say that we will contact Cumbies again and try to work it out again. That would be a minor, obviously, it'd be a minor amendment to whatever you give us today.
Can I
But
just
I don't
leave
want to
it-
hold this open, waiting for them to not do it.
Can I just
Right.
leave it that the arbitrator, the mediator be Dan Malloy?
Yes.
Yep.
Because he started it,
No one
and then
else.
Chris started it, and then Dan took over,
That's,
and that was it.
Dan,
We're
Dan
leaving
had
this
both
with
sides.
Dan, and
Dan
it's
will do
not
it.
gonna hold up his application, and Dan knows how important this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can't make someone do something they don't wanna do with their private
Correct.
property. So
Right.
that's what it comes
And we're
down.
going to keep going with it, but now that we've already gotten through the HDC, maybe, as you said, it might be a little easier to do it.
Maybe, so we'll see. Thank you. Barry?
You want me to close the public hearing now? Yes, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat, all in favor?
Aye.
As to the merits, gentlemen?
I still would like to leave it open, but like, I know.
I hear you.
I think he's
I
been,
understand that, but there was time to have a conversation.
and I'm sure
I
that
think it's gonna
Dan's
happen.
gonna have that conversation.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion at this point. We accept the modification with findings and conditions that have been identified by staff.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat, all in favor?
Aye.
No. Sticking to it.
John McLaughlin.
Sticking to it.
That was my no.
I don't care. You can throw it in, it's got 3.
Needs 4.
These fours are special.
Yeah, that's all.
That's
good.
right. But you got it. There you go.
You're gonna be on the front page.
I'm-
I have a second.
You suck. Yeah,
You should have known. I ended.
yay, aye, whatever. That's a yes.
All right. Don't be a boo-boo bear now.
I'm glad you're buying dinner. All right, so we're understood, right, Dan?
I hear you. Tentatively, thank you, maybe. I'll maybe hold on
No,
now.
listen, you're gonna do
We'll
the best
definitely
you
make an
can.
effort.
Yes.
And we appreciate that, thank you.
You were great in the meeting, keep going.
Yep, all right. John P. Murray, 73 and 75 Fairgrounds Road. Dan Malloy?
Evening again. Stan Malloy, Site Design Engineering for the applicant. I think this one will be fairly straightforward. So the board approved a subdivision on this property. I don't recall the time frame. Say about 5 years ago, plus or minus. At the time, the board approved it as a rear lot subdivision. Now there's 2 lots to the right that are all developed at this point. When it was subdivided at the last go-around, the owner, John Murray, wanted to keep his house and his garage, which you're seeing in the middle of Lot 2. He since has rethought that, so now we're looking to come back and show approved plan for 5 lots, well, 5 lots, which would have been a different configuration if it would have been done this way in the beginning. But, so we're asking to modify it to do 3 lots. This would be a proof plan if the board approved it. And we'd follow this up with a rear lot subdivision plan, which would keep the existing house that's shown on lot 2, keep it in place. In the rear lot plan, the existing garage would have to be moved, and then it'd still be one vacant lot. So it's a 32,000 square foot lot. It has more than adequate area. We are creating a small right of way under this proof plan to create the required frontage, but it meets all the other criteria in terms of zoning requirements. And this is something the board has looked at favorably in the past as a configuration, essentially step 1 to get to step 2, which is the rear lot subdivision.
Thank you, Dan. Board members. I guess it's me. Sorry, Dan.
Please.
So I guess my question is maybe to staff is, have we ever seen a list of waivers this long for a proof plan for a rear lot subdivision?
I haven't done an analysis.
But it seems like a lot, doesn't it?
I don't want to misspeak because I haven't gone through that exercise, but it does seem like fewer than others you've approved in recent history.
Fewer than others? More than others?
I can tell you from my personal experience, we've done quite a few with the board where that's a very similar list. I don't recall it.
This many?
Yes.
It seems like just so much going on here. It really does. And that concerns me. Am I wrong? Yeah. So that's my feeling at the moment, but other board members?
Was there anything that was kind of sticking out that really caught your attention?
Well, I think just,
I'm just curious.
so one question would be for me is he's asking for a waiver, I think for maybe the circumference of the circle, right? Where he gets his frontage from, to size it down. Are we still gonna have frontage if we size that down? Does that make sense, what I'm saying? So let me find it in here.
So if I can answer that, so when you size it down, the lots still on this plan is still required to have the required frontage. So reducing the size of the cul-de-sac doesn't take that away. What it does, it makes the roadway smaller so the lots become bigger. On the cul-de-sac, the lots get a 30% frontage reduction, which is the reason you're seeing the rounding here.
Just a lot for me to
It's-
process, I'm sorry.
Things I'm thinking I can't say.
Huh? Because
this is, this is Mid-Island. Becoming something else,
Mid-metropolis.
like Gray Ave, which no one ever saw coming.
Right now that I've thrown a firebomb in the room.
No.
No, it's just
Meg?
it's
I
just
wonder
unfortunate.
if Dan may have a concept rear lot to show. I think, there's a lot of information on this plan and it can be confusing sometimes to see how the lines cut through the dwellings and
Yeah.
maybe difficult to visualize what the intended outcome is, if that
Well,
makes
it's
sense.
all getting torn down.
I don't know if I have a clean one I can actually throw up on the screen that would help the situation.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Dan.
No, I mean, we have one. I just don't know if it's going to be clean enough to help. I could certainly give it a try. Is this coming up for you now?
Could you zoom in a bit on it?
Yes, let me zoom in here.
They're just making dirt. That's what they're doing.
Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
So what you're seeing on this plan, the red lines would be the rear lot subdivision. So you see a lot that's boxed around Mr. Murray's existing house. Be another lot here, which would encompass some of the garage that would have to be moved. Then it'd be a vacant lot in the front right here with a proposed house on it. So you'd essentially have 3 lots. One would be vacant, the other 2 would contain the existing buildings. That's where we'd like to end up.
All right, so Dan, we're keeping the existing buildings or?
His existing house, Mr. Murray's house definitely stays in place. He's planning on living there. The
Okay.
garage, his garage building right here will have to be moved, but he doesn't want to get rid of it, so we're planning on making room for that to fit in the back. And there'll be 1 vacant lot right up by the street.
Like the other one?
Like the other, the intent is here to have a shared driveway come right up the middle, so all 3 lots would have a shared driveway. There's only 1 curb cut, the existing curb cut up in the street.
Okay, that's good. That's better.
It makes more sense looking at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I just can't get away with the feeling that we're just like trying to put 10 pounds in a
It's,
5-pound bag.
it's
You know,
like that in the 1700s.
but it's not that far, that crazy different than what's going on farther down the road. I just, something about it, I don't know.
Is any, no, I hate to bring up this word, but any covenant potential, any affordability potential in this, or is this just all gonna be in the?
It's, right now, it's all market rate. There's no,
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's really room on this one for a covenant to make this one work.
Public hearing, so, Emily Molden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Emily Molden for the Nantucket Land and Water Council. I appreciate having this plan put up and understanding in a sense where this is being proposed to go. But most of my concerns are around how we get there. I think that the proposed subdivision plan, as it's being proposed as a special permit, is really meant to stand on its own, and it's important that it does so. Clearly, this area was part of a previous subdivision, and the 2 lots that are being proposed to be redivided here, it's clear that there's the intent is to try to squeeze out an additional lot from this area.
Yeah.
As has been discussed, there are a lot of waivers required for the subdivision as it's being proposed. I think I counted 17. And that does include a significant number of waivers for the proposed roadway lot in and of itself, including reducing the width down to 12 feet, as was mentioned, reducing the required radius of a cul-de-sac, if you can actually call that still a cul-de-sac, from 60 feet down to 30 feet. And also a number of others. I do think it's really important generally as a standard for the board to require written justification for waivers from all applicants. I certainly think that would be appropriate in this case as well. I always think that's a good standard to uphold. I also had a question about the frontage. As it was raised, it seems in the proposed plan that lots 1 and 2 show frontage off of Murray's Way. I wasn't quite sure about lot 3, if that's proposed frontage off of Fairgrounds. But the reduced frontage that was discussed as a result of setting this up off of the turnaround or the cul-de-sac at a 30% reduction, on the plan it's shown that the minimum frontage then in this case would be 52.5 feet, which is shown for lot 1. But it doesn't appear as though lot 2, even with that sort of additional piece down to the south, actually has 52.5 feet of frontage. So that was one question that I had. And to Mr. Iverson's point, that reduced frontage is for a cul-de-sac, which in this instance needs a waiver because it doesn't actually meet the requirements or standards of a cul-de-sac. So we're sort of piling some waivers on top of waivers, it seems. As far as access, again, if there's potential for, if it's the lots 1 and 2 on this plan that are demonstrating to have frontage off of Murray's Way, is that a potential for 3 units on each in the future, maybe 6 units that are accessing through that 12-foot roadway? And should there be concerns about traffic and safety there? There hasn't been a requirement for additional information on infrastructure and drainage, again, because I think ultimately the proposal has been to move forward with the rear lot subdivision, but I also think that that's important information for the board to have. All in all, I understand that this proposal is predicated on a future rear lot subdivision, but I think it's just really important to remember that the purpose and intent of the rear lot subdivision provision is to eliminate those untaxed roadway lots in instances where a subdivision can be permitted under your rules and regulations without necessarily facilitating the creation of additional density that couldn't otherwise be permitted. And it's certainly our opinion that by ignoring or by waiving this many standards that otherwise would render this subdivision unpermittable because of the intent to move forward with a rear lot subdivision, it's really utilizing the rear lot subdivision provision as a loophole that it wasn't intended to be. I think it was in somewhere in the packet or the staff report that in order to grant a special permit for this proposal, the board needs to make a finding that the proposal is in harmony with the general purpose and intent and aligns with the subdivision rules and regulations. And I just don't see with all of these waivers proposed how this board can make that finding. I also think it's really important to consider, as Mr. Lowell brought up, that at least my understanding, if this is an R10, that oversized lot at 22,000 square feet plus, couldn't that be utilized for a secondary residential lot or the creation of a covenant lot? So taking all of those things into account, I think at a minimum, we would look to the board to request justification for the waivers beyond just the fact that it's going to be a rear lot subdivision, because if that's the reason to grant the waivers, then I feel like rear lot subdivisions are really being utilized as a tool inappropriately. So I would ask the planning board to just consider all of that in your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Anybody online?
Okay, so Dan, can I ask you a question? Sorry, forgot that you were. Can you hear me, Dan? Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the last page, you know, with the plan that has Judith's name on it. I feel like I'm dating myself here, but. So lot C is that place that was just built, right? In this current technical plan, is that what that is?
That's how the property exists today. So lot A in the back and lot C have been built on.
That's
Lot
the
C is the new
one, that, okay, I just trying to, you know, driving by the same place 50 times a day, sometimes you kind of don't know what you're looking at
We had a
sometimes.
problem.
That's the
Problem with
one,
the neighbor with access?
no, well, the one behind was the place with, no, that's a different place. This is the Ryan Fitch one in the front, and I forgot what happened in the back. Okay, so what Emily just talked about with the 22,000, is that still gonna be the same size under the new, once, you know, the definitive real lot plan? 22,000 square feet because of the, what's already existing?
So the plan you're looking at right now, you have lot B, which is 22,000, that has the house and the garage on it. And right on the bottom of that should be a lot D, I believe.
Yep.
So there are 2 lots there right now. We're taking the 2 and making them 3. That's the proposal. So lot B essentially would be split in two.
Okay, so he's trying to keep the existing structures and carve out a market rate lot in the front, similar to the previous time.
Give me your back.
Kind of, right? Is that basically what's happening?
Right, there's already a lot out front, which is lot D. We're essentially reconfiguring a portion of lot D and then splitting lot B in half.
Okay, so lot B isn't gonna remain 22,000.
Correct. It'll be split essentially in half, 10 and 11. So
Alright. Okay,
Dan, is Lot D as it stands a buildable lot?
yes, it is.
Yes.
It's buildable and there's no, I believe, I don't have the approval in front of, if I look, maybe there's only, I think the only restriction on the property now is no commercial activity. I don't think there's any type of other restrictions in place.
What does this exclusive use area thing mean? What is that? If you don't mind me asking, Dan.
So when Mr. Murray put this in place on this plan here, he had intended to continue utilizing the garage in its current location, so he put an exclusive use. Essentially, think of it as an easement on Lot D for his use. The Lot D owns it, but they can't use it, they can't build on it. So basically be nothing behind his garage or nothing next to it.
Never seen that before, that's why I'm asking. So that's gonna stay the way it is.
There's another one, I'll think of it as a view easement or no build easement or no build or something along those lines. We're seeing similar things like that.
Preserve the view of Fairgrounds Road.
So he painted himself on the corner.
Yeah,
He could remove it.
Existing.
He owns the property.
Yeah, so he has full control over the exclusive use easement, so that would go away.
But on that plan, you just showed there's gonna be a pool of
Of course.
Oh, yeah, of course there is. And that's,
but
Nobody
I know, but I was looking
ever
at-
said, get me mid-island, remember?
that's gonna happen. But
let's, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
let's just try this for a different way. Dan?
Yes.
Hi, so B and D really are the subject lots here as we look at it. How many dwellings total in the current configuration with B and D as they stand would you get out of this?
So B could have a primary, a secondary, and assumably a tertiary if you really wanted to, and the same thing with D. So theoretically, there could be 6 dwellings between the two.
So if we look at, let's go to the other plan now, and let's do the same process again. Yeah.
What I think I would offer as a consideration is what the board has done in the past, and it's in some of the staff recommendations, where is if this plan, for whatever reason, was to actually move forward.
Correct.
If it was approved and the owner decided to abandon the rear lot and actually move forward with this layout, that they would then have to come back to the board for further review. And I think what I'm getting at with that is I don't see a scenario where you're talking about primary, secondary, and tertiary on these lots. I don't anticipate that's a realistic outcome. If you just look at the development of the 2 lots to the right, it's a primary dwelling and maybe a studio at best.
So humor me, what would you say, and I'll let Megan verify, but what would you say would be the max you'd get out of this with the 3 lots?
I think from a development standpoint, you're looking at a primary dwelling, maybe 1 or 2 lots as a secondary, but likely a primary and a studio, or a studio that qualifies as a second, but more like a garage apartment, something along those lines.
Yep. So lot 3 would still be able to do 3, correct? Just work with.
Well, on paper, yes. I don't think, I mean, if we want to look in that direction, I don't think it's reasonable to expect 3 dwellings on lot 3.
Okay.
I think certainly it could be a primary dwelling in a studio.
Right.
I don't think we need second dwellings here. I don't see the owners getting, if it's density we're concerned about, I think we can certainly have that discussion.
I'm just trying to weigh out a bunch of different things that we should be looking at this point. So probably a primary in each one and a studio on each one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So at worst, your net value is actually zero. Between the two, what you may be getting is a reduction in the size of potential buildings that would be happening outside of the primary by going to a studio as opposed to letting things just kind of run full blown. Is that a reasonable analysis?
Yes, it is. You're likely to have, again, if you look at the other lots to the right, you're gonna have a primary dwelling, and if there's room, there'd be a garage or a cabana that realistically is a studio. It may qualify as a dwelling, but it's really just a small studio.
Yeah.
And that's it. There just isn't space from a practical standpoint to get 3 dwellings on these lots.
No, and I do appreciate you running through the exercise with me because I think that's just another facet that this board should be looking at.
And
about what does it begin to look like when we're done with things?
So what I would, if we're interested in, if we're gonna get through an approval on this, I think what I would say is that based on the staff recommendations is this can't really move forward. An approval of this would have conditions that basically stating, and if for whatever reason this application decided to move forward, it would have to come back to the board for all the technical review merits of it.
Yep.
And if we go to the rear lot subdivision, which is certainly where we want to go, now we're talking a special permit, which gives the board a lot more leeway in wording conditions.
Correct. All right. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
No, Barry, thank you. I think that was very helpful, Barry.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, the net difference between the two things really comes down to zero. It's zero sum either way.
Yep.
About the only thing you may gain off of this by doing the rear lot subdivision is actually smaller, quote unquote, secondary dwellings. That'll come out of it by using studios instead.
I think there's a
and you may need to step back from it a little bit and weigh it out a bit further.
I mean, I have another concern about stormwater as we build out these places and start packing things. What looks great on paper might suck for the neighbor when he's got a 6-foot puddle in his yard all of a sudden.
I get it, but here you go again. I guess what I'm saying to you is that is there really going to be a major net difference if you say no to this, then that you'll probably get about 6 dwellings happening.
Oh, no, that's
See what I'm saying to you is that
argument. I'm concerned about, I mean, I see the writing on the wall. I think
Right next to it.
this is gonna get approved, but I think that we need to really be thoughtful if we're gonna continue to do rear lots and adding density, and I hear what you're saying about the ability to reduce it, but we're still putting a whole lot of buildings on not a whole lot of land, and that rain's gonna go somewhere, and if we continue to approve higher density rear lots without taking that into account, it could be problematic.
I'm more in a.
And I'm not, listen, I'm putting
No, I
it
get
out
it.
there.
I get it.
The
It's not a
problem,
game breaker.
the real issue is, if this was gonna be affordable development,
We probably wouldn't even talk
we
about
wouldn't be talking about water.
I think that's
No.
fair.
And I'm just saying, and that's, we know what this is gonna be. This is gonna be advertised for a house and a pool and a lot of vegetation and just like the other one, and that's what's gonna happen. And if this is, 5 years ago when this started to happen in Gray Ave, I couldn't believe it. And this is gonna continue because this market is so high, even on Fairgrounds Road and Hooper Farm Road and Parker Lane. I don't know, it's just, and it's been R10 since 1977. So it's not anybody changed zoning stuff, that's a lie too. So it's just, I had that check quite a while back, just so you know. So
We do.
It is what
Zoning
it
hasn't
is.
changed, but we've created more tools for people to
Well,
take advantage
but
of
they,
the zoning.
but on Barry's point, let's just pretend.
Barry's point is a
he's-
great point.
If,
I'm not-
if we just approved that lot in the back stayed 22,000, they'd qualify for 2 covenants on one lot, because we did that last year with the, above the 5,000 extra square feet. If this was clean land and this was gonna be built out for year-round housing, every single speck of ground cover would be used for a dwelling. So we kinda can't talk about it that way. It's what's gonna be here versus what could be here in a different way, and that's what's going on. And that's where, this isn't anybody's fault, it just happened.
No, it's just, it's painful, that's.
It is,
that-
I'm
and-
having a hell of a time with it because I know what's gonna happen and it's legal.
Yeah. No,
You can't tell someone they can't do something that's legal.
And, as.
So, I've got it going across the street from me with a house on the market. I still can't believe it. We'll see what it sells for. What's mine worth now? 10
One of
million?
those teacher
I mean, it's
one of those
ridiculous.
teacher houses?
I don't know what to say.
One
Yeah.
of these teacher houses getting sold to Off Islanders.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'll have something for you too afterwards.
Okay, I'm sorry. Emily?
No, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had one more question for clarity, and I think that Nat might have actually just answered it for me, but I just wanted to confirm that the existing 22,000 plus lot could be divided using the secondary lot and/or tertiary lot provision. So I would just also put it out there to the board that density and ground cover aside, there are tools for these lots now to be divided that would have greater community benefit than the creation of an additional market rate lot. And that the board doesn't have to make a finding to grant all of the waivers to facilitate this. There are other options for the owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry?
That completely derailed my train of thought for a minute. I'm so sorry.
Emily's doing good tonight, though. I'm following every word she says tonight.
Yeah, you may want to just step back from this a little bit and really seriously think about it.
No,
And there we go. There's the thought. As Nat has always been saying too, and I agree, here we are again. It's all about the dirt. And as the number of available building lots goes down, and we're faced with, all of a sudden, we begin to get faced with new situations about how do we work with now what is available out there. It's not like there's more space anymore. So be prepared, as a board, we need to be prepared for it. People are gonna keep coming up with very novel ways to subdivide what is currently there. Because, hate to say it, in bad English, there ain't a lot left. We're down to, I think, Megan can correct me, I think we're down to about 1% or less now. Thereabouts, yeah. So, these are things that, as time moves along, people are gonna keep coming up with various ways to do. And I think all of a sudden, you've got to kind of look at the whole thing from what are net gains, what are net benefits that happen for it. I mean, if you're worried about stormwater too, I mean, with the cul-de-sac going in and a roadway going in and.
There won't be a cul-de-sac anymore.
Well, quote unquote, what it is at this point, but there may be a way to kind of beef up the engineering as well to address some of those issues.
Yep.
So, I'm not saying I'm gonna say yay or nay tonight, but I would really want to kind of work through some more things with it.
So where are we here? What would you like to see, Barry, from Dan, if we don't approve this tonight, what from Dan would help?
I want to go back to really understanding the stormwater issue that you're bringing up and see.
I mean, I think it's a thought, I don't know that it's a deal breaker, you're not, are you
Just talking
paving
in
this?
general. No.
No, we're talking about a gravel access really driveway. In terms of stormwater, what's typically, well, I don't want to say typically, 99% of the houses now, we're doing gutters, roof drains, and infiltration systems essentially for every building.
Okay, all right.
So, and that's
Yeah.
not only common everywhere, that's even almost an expected condition across various boards.
But as we raise these concerns, again, it's worth, just like you said, maybe we need to identify that list that he's given us. But I think it's important to be able to, instead of saying, well, stormwater is an issue. What's the issue? What is it that can happen to either mitigate, or is it really an issue at all at first blush? Sometimes it just takes a little bit.
No, and
Yeah.
to be fair, and I know that Emily asked for, an explanation, but I have a hard time asking someone to explain a bunch of waivers that aren't gonna matter if it gets flipped to a rear lot.
So here's.
So I think there's some important waivers we need to understand.
Yeah.
But to ask
Some of them
for-
are things we don't want, unfortunately. That's just how that works. Lights,
Yeah,
things that we
yeah,
don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
want
Right.
anyway.
No.
I get that. But
Yeah.
okay, so since we've said a lot of things tonight that we haven't ever said before about something like this, I'm gonna say something that we really need to be saying, but it's not legal yet. It's not in the queue, the toolbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What he's doing here, preserving his existing buildings, is good, all right? So let's
Don't
just
disagree.
say that this was all gonna just get torn down, and we're making 3 lots with the rear lot at the same time, to make 3 potential, seasonal pool houses, okay? But let's say, for example, a year from now, or 6 months from now, or whatever, those 2 lots that are kept with the existing stuff got year-round deed restriction purchases. And they will remain year-round ownership in the future. But the front lot 3 was that's the piece that has to be whatever that's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all in favor, say aye right now, because that's another tool to do what we're trying to do here. And maybe that can happen, maybe that can, but we can't make that get done. Well, first of all, we don't have that program in place yet, but it is coming. This is a perfect example of what that program can do, that you can't do with just saying, we want a covenant house. A covenant house is $1 million, that's worth $710,000 when you're done. It's like, there's no, and that's just the
$1 million if
truth.
you're lucky.
Okay?
That doesn't include the
So if
land.
you have existing structures that can be turned into year-round ownership with that median, that 150, 350, whatever it is, it makes it worth about $1.6 million. That's what we're trying to get. And this is a good example of that. The market rate lot has to go as part of that plan,
And that
but it
ain't-
makes sense.
But we will lose that. That will never be regained into local housing. I guarantee you, that blank lot.
No, I won't. I didn't say that. I'm talking about
The other two,
if the other 2 lots
possibly.
could be done, and I'm fine with that market rate lot, because that's what it takes. There's going to be a million different scenarios that pop up with existing family properties on this island that are already built, with buildings
people
in a
take advantage of
weird
the year-round,
location.
if people take advantage of the year-round restriction
I'm
program.
just saying,
I mean,
the year-round restriction program that hasn't fully happened yet, this is a good opportunity for that with the 2 of the lots.
And as well,
That's
I
all
mean,
I'm trying to
those are
say.
pretty sizable buildings. There's not a huge development unless they
There
rip
isn't.
them down. There's
No,
not a
that's
huge
true.
development
Well, the other
potential
thing,
there.
the other thing you have to applaud, if you're going back to that older plan, or that far right structure that's new, I feel like that design is successful.
It is.
And the way it works, to the benefit, you have that middle lot that he's not gonna develop, So you have that gap of space as you're driving down the road. And then I get to your point, if we could get that back, it's covenant, existing
Not
house
covenant,
remain,
but, you
but
know,
family house and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
I think it would work in some way, shape, or form. When I first saw this, I was like, how's this gonna work? But I think to Barry's point of kind of getting to us to here, I think this is gonna work, and I'm getting, because I was starting to really hear Emily, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm not really getting this, but I do feel now if that front lot has that gap and has that space, I think it's more successful. And that house, the gambrels in the back, I think are gonna kind of remain, and maybe some vegetation in that front where he's not gonna touch it would be, some screening would help it out and hide some of all that, you know.
And again,
hard-
this isn't,
hard vertical
this is
structure.
the beginning. This area has tons of houses that were just built for somebody, you know, pin the tail on the donkey, I'm gonna put my house here. When it was, you know, $10,000 to build a house and $3,000 to get the land. I mean, that's just the truth.
No, you're
Joe.
right. We're
I
just-
mean, it's everywhere.
The way
And
you-
this
the
is
way you
just
get there is
another
fine.
one of them, you know?
Yep.
So, but there could be some good, we're 10 years behind in solutions to this issue. And I'm just hoping that that can happen here somehow, because, you know, he's deserving his property, it's just that we know what's coming.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Just, I'm gonna
Having
just,
a
So where are we
affordable housing
going
trust
with this, guys?
conversation at the planning board meeting, but you know what? That's what people want us to talk about.
Well, it's
So,
part
we
of the
should be talking
conversation,
about it.
yeah.
We're all members of these different things.
Nat,
Yes, sir, go
you're gonna,
ahead.
you're gonna say we're 10 years behind, but.
We're about-
But bear with
In
me.
that stuff, in the toolbox department, we're
let
10
me-
years behind.
But do let me just kind of chime in on top of that,
Yeah.
because in that soundbite as well too, there's, with everything that we have accomplished so far, there's a lot of communities out there who are like,
Want
wow,
to do what
how
we're
did
doing.
you do
No,
that?
I know that. No, that's 100%.
So,
Yep.
it's just, sometimes people hear that and they're like, oh, well, you know, you're behind the curve. We're really not.
I meant 10 years behind the
But you know what I'm saying, I
solution side
just,
of it.
it's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really an important thing to walk away with, because with the last housing conference that people attended, they were just absolutely amazed with some of the stuff we were doing here and wanted to try to emulate what's going on,
We've got some
so
good stuff going on, for sure.
let's be clear about that. I mean, personally, right now, going back to this, I'd just like to wait 1 month on this, just hold back.
Dan,
Wait a month, try to get our heads wrapped around it, see if there's anything that emerges out of it.
Dan,
And
how do
then
you
maybe
feel
move forward.
about a 1 month digestion period?
Well, we can certainly do that. What I'm wondering, based on what I'm hearing, is if 1 month is going to change something, or if this discussion really needs to take place on the rear lot itself. 'Cause, it sounds like we want to talk about potential, a lot of what-if scenarios, none of which would happen under this plan,
Yeah,
but would happen or could be controlled or conditioned under the rear lot if it happens. So, I mean, if you want to continue, obviously we'll continue. I'm just not sure if we're benefiting continuing to talk about this, or if we really should be talking about the rear lot.
I think that's a good point, John.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, I'm, having listened to all this, but I'm still extremely sympathetic to what Ms. Moulton had to say. And I don't know how, as the new guy on the block, but I do feel that if we could get to some kind of, covenant kind of on this, that would be the best way forward. So for me, I feel it would not be the best way forward to.
So you don't feel, for you, right now, there's not a path for this proof plan to a rear lot subdivision for you, is kind of what you're saying?
No, there is not, no.
So I would suggest then that we need to digest this for another month and come back and look at this again, Dan, because I want you to make sure you get a fair shot at this, and in a quick straw poll, I think you're gonna be better off waiting a month.
So, and can I make a suggestion too, before we make a continuance?
Yes.
John, through you to John and Megan, I would take a ride to the planning office and talk to staff about how we got here with the real lot subdivision. What the reasons are, and Emily stated some of them, but there's a little bit more than that as far as paved roads and drainage and all kinds of things that we kind of needed to do for something that didn't need to be like that. And there are a lot of benefits to the real lot as far as the special permit side of it that Dan mentioned. You get to restrict things, you get to build and locate, you can do a lot more. So, so there's a little bit of it, it's, yeah, okay, anyway. They do it in other communities, we just never did it here.
I already wrote it.
There you go.
To go
See that?
There you go.
All right, so,
Can I just say one thing?
yeah.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, to Dan, so based on our conversation, do you think that you would have some tweaks or some alterations to your rear lot? Just while we're digesting this for another month, would you digest that rear lot?
Yeah, well, I think we'll review the rear lot layout and see if we can come back to you with a better schematic as to what things are likely to really look like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And from a density standpoint, as well as access and everything, so you can better understand where this would head if it goes in that direction.
I think that would be very helpful, Dan. And I'm sorry to drag this through, but I just think that for me, I can't speak for everyone else, it's a lot going on here. So I think another month would give everyone an opportunity to either be more comfortable or be more entrenched in their position with better reasoning.
Yes.
So,
I
but
also think perception of this is just one more of these, there's gonna be a lot more, especially in this area. And I
Yeah.
think that talking about what the good that can come out of this, as far as the year-round idea, concept that's coming, along with the market rate stuff, staying as what makes it work for the property owner.
Right.
Like, that's the key.
Yeah, and I
to
would even
this.
show that exclusive use area, I would have that in green.
I
I would have that as just
That is,
green
I've
space.
never seen that before.
No, and that's why
I was like, what does that mean?
Thank you.
He doesn't want,
If you don't know, I was
I've
like,
never
happy when
heard
you
of it
asked that
he
before.
question.
doesn't want a house built between him and the road.
Well, but I've never seen that before.
No, but as far as driving down Fairgrounds Road, sorry, I think it's gonna be very successful to.
Pickleball courts? Okay,
You
I'm
like-
sorry,
you
I'm
like
getting
parking,
off.
Joe,
So, entertain a motion to
stop.
continue this
Yes,
till
so
November
moved.
14th.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Nat, seconded by Barry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Oh, well,
He's staying on for the night.
I guess you're staying
Yeah,
on.
you
I
don't
was
get to
gonna say
go.
It's been a long night, but it's getting longer. Great. So RG Gamma LLC, Richard Valero, RG Beta LLC, 60 and 62 Old South Road, Dan Malloy.
Evening, Dan Malloy for the applicant. So I'll go into all the details here. I have a feeling a lot of people have heard a lot about this already. I know it's been in the papers. There's been discussion about it. So everyone, obviously, I'm going to take a wild assumption, is very familiar with for the Valero property and the greenhouses and the farm and everything that's over there. So what they're essentially looking to do here is, if you've driven in there before, which again, I'm sure everyone on the board has, when you first access the property, that's, well, I'll get you a cleaner. Is that the cleanest version of the plan you guys have?
Yes, that is.
Wow, okay, hold on a minute. Give me 1 minute, I can email you something that's more legible than that.
Do you want to just share your screen, Dan?
Sure.
There we go.
So let me go for this. All right, so is everybody seeing this?
Refrigerator truck, make a delivery in here.
Yeah, oh, that's much better.
You must be.
All right, so what we have here is, this is the existing entrance to Valero's right here. You can see the driveway comes in right here. And you've got the existing office store shop right here in the back. Off to the right side of it is an existing greenhouse. And this area here, just trying to get familiarity, this is the laid down area where you buy shrubs. They have stonework kind of through here, and you drive through this property out to where the brick road is on this side and back out to Old South Road again. So as the property functions right now, this is a two-way driveway, but it functions as a one-way in, go around and come back out on the right side again. And I'm sure everybody's been through there and seen that plenty of times. So the proposal here is to put up an 18,000 square foot building. Building is 90 by 100, so 9,000 square feet each floor, 2 floors, 18,000 total. What the applicants are looking to do is create a gym / health spa type building. So they're looking to do, the first floor of the building will be nothing but a gym, weight equipment, that type of thing. Second floor would be tanning salon, nail salon, hair salon, all of that type of beauty salon type of activity, as well as a couple of rooms for breakout rooms, maybe a yoga studio or a spin class, something of that nature. And then also in the same building on the second floor that have a couple of employee housing units, so that have some employee housing on site. So everything we're looking for is allowed by zoning. There's no special permit relief requested in terms of any of the uses. The parking we've gone through, I'm confident that we have adequate parking. We can take a look at that to see how we came up with those numbers, but I think we have all the required parking that could be needed for this site. And the intent here is to maintain the same access, the same driveways that are there right now. So again, you'd come in the same access way that's here. This would stay laid out and function as a two-way entrance. It's that way today. It just isn't generally always used as two-way. Building a new parking lot in the middle right here, again, which is the area where all the laydown space is right now for the materials. Coming back out again onto the brick road, not to Old South Road. So you'd have parking coming in, parking through in the middle, and the tan brown area here, this would be the building in the back. And you would access, the first floor would actually be accessed by the sidewalk here. If anybody's had a chance to go out and look at the property slopes from left to right across this parking lot. So the first floor of the building would be accessed from this side here at grade. Then the building's parking lot slopes up to the left and an entrance on the left side to get to the second floor. There's no elevator in the building. There's no proposal to connect the 2 floors that function independently. So we don't need to put an elevator in the building. So essentially you've got a first floor on the right, second floor is on the left, I'm sorry. First floor is all the gym space, second floor is all the salon type spaces with the employee housing. Parking spaces on site, we're proposing 56. Again, I think that's more than adequate for what we're looking to do here. We're not showing a specific loading zone on the property just because there is lots of loading truck activity space that exists today on the left-hand side of the property, so we didn't add a secondary loading zone. As well as we didn't show an extra dumpster trash removal on this site because that exists on the property already. They have dumpster space that they use already for the remaining portions of the activities on the property. And I want to also be clear when you're looking at this plan. So the back, this black line here is the northern property line of the 2 parcels. So everything behind that is the actual farm agricultural use property in the back. So we're not touching that. Just want to be clear that the big open space piece in the back is not part of the application. The only real, and I'm not sure if I'd really call it a waiver necessarily, but because the site is entirely developed today, we really don't have the open space requirement met without having to, zoom out a little bit here, without having to take something down. So we're showing in green here all the places we want to produce landscaping and add things to it. Everything on the left side of the property over here is still a business commercial zone area that's used with storage buildings. There's mechanical equipment over there. There's really no we're not looking to touch this left side of the property. It's all existing. So we are looking for some clarification on what the open space requirement might look like. And that's essentially it. I mean, it's basically a gym with a spa. It looks big, but considering the size of the property and what we're doing, I think it's gonna fit in very well. It's off the street. The majority of the parking is set off the street. And we're providing, I think, very excellent pedestrian access to the bike path as well to the site itself. So, and we fully expect, put it out there now, we obviously don't expect this hearing to close today. So we wanted to get this out in front of you, get everybody's feedback, so we can come back to the next meeting and potentially work it out. I will also say Ed Pesci has reviewed it. We've seen his comments. I don't expect any issues with his comments. And we've also received feedback from the fire department. So they've asked us to show the fire truck can access the property, which will certainly provide that for them. And I think that is a quick presentation of what we're doing here. And I'd really just like to hear what everybody has to say about it, if there's any concerns or more information you're looking for. And do you want me to leave this up or pull it down?
No, leave it up.
Leave it up, please, Dan. Thank you very much. John?
Dan, just on the open space piece of this, the waiver that you're looking for, you know, the lot that is behind this is a 10-acre lot, I think, that belongs to the same owner.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we could work with him to leverage a piece of that at the back to create, you know, a good strip of open space behind the thing, which would add to just the look of the gym itself, but it sort of lends itself to the same, but,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I have to leave it to these guys for the technical part of it, but I'm just looking at it and thinking, if this was me and I owned that 10 acres behind what I'm trying to do in these two lots, I would be figuring out a way to give them their open space right there.
You're on the right track. That was that.
Oh, well then, listen, if I'm on that right track, I'm glad I.
Worded differently, but the same thing. Yeah.
So if I can answer that if you want, at least generally speaking. First off, I'll certainly bring that question back. My initial reaction to it, although I think it's a great idea, I don't know if it's possible. So the back half of this property has a restriction on it. I forget which designation is, if an agricultural restriction, but there is a restriction on it. That I'm not sure if it'd be something so easy for us to modify to make a change like that, but certainly we'll take a look at it.
You know, Dan, I'm looking at the Google Maps thing here, and it looks like at the moment it's got container trucks on it, and it looks more like a, forgive me, but it looks more like a, you know, a dump than it does anything else.
No, I know, I'm very familiar with it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Who's going next?
Yes. Do you want to go next?
No, go ahead, Barry.
No, seriously.
Dan, I just have, well, I might have more questions, but I'll just ask one now. Dan, the curb cut's the original same, right? Nothing's changing to the.
We're gonna clean up the curb cut at the bike path at the main entrance right here. It's it's really large right now. It's actually spans. It's a massive opening right now.
Yeah.
So really, we're gonna define that, curb it. Yeah, so the whole thing right now, it's just a big gravel entrance in here. The whole thing will be curbed and very formalized in terms of what it is right now.
We're cleaning up the current condition, but we're not adding anything. We're just fixing it. That's good.
Right. No new curb cuts. Straighten out the curb cuts that are there, curb it. This whole area is gonna have to either be paved or bricked or something due to the slope that's here. So really.
Can't have, that was my next thing. Yeah, no water rushing sand out and gravel into the road and all
No,
that.
the whole thing has to be,
Right.
yeah, there's too much of a grade change out here to do that.
Okay,
He's into it.
all right, I'll let Barry go then, or I'm done for the second, anyway.
So Dan, a few things. There is a fair amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? Trucks, trailers and things like that. Are they gonna also still use that entrance that you're proposing?
Yes.
To be able to get to the backside of the property?
The trucks would still use the same openings. That's why we've got it laid out with such a wide width. So
Yeah.
they can still come back and make the turn to use the backside of the property. I expect the volume of truck traffic to actually go down.
Okay.
As part of what you're seeing here, the Valeras are scaling back the landscaping and operation business. So
Yeah.
when this building and parking lot, this goes in, that area of the property is no longer available. So what you're seeing out there today will be changed if this goes forward. You'll see a lot less of the vehicle traffic accessing the property goes and getting it would change.
Yeah. I'd probably like something a little more solid than that, because again, you're putting up a parking lot and a building, and just to have an industrial cut through happening at the same time in that area, just in my mind's eye, poses a little bit of a traffic safety concern. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we can look at that.
All right. So my other question is, well, all right, we're gonna take these out of order and kind of come back to things. Hours of operation, we're gonna need to get that established. That's really an important thing.
Okay.
Because we're gonna come back to traffic in a minute, but that's really an important issue that's gonna dictate what happens in this area. I'm just wondering, with the change in use and stuff, whether that's gonna generate more traffic into that system than what's there right now. And so hours of operation and the services that you're gonna provide, which we'll need a list of what that is too. I know there's certain proposals you're thinking about, but again, depending upon what else they want to do inside, especially, is going to be important. I mean, some gyms have had little luncheon areas, sometimes, again, or they may have like a wet bar type thing happening. It's just good to know what's happening with that, because that really dictates how attractive the place is, how much is going to go in there, how much activity you're going to generate back off of it. Let's see. And just a real simple thing, don't forget to put bike racks in, please. That's really easy.
Lots of them.
Yeah,
Or go people drive to the gyms.
I just don't, the only other thing is that they also own that front building where the consignment shop used to be and stuff, right?
Yeah, is Mac
Mac
Davis
Davis.
still there? Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any advantage toward reconfiguring? There's 5 spaces there that are they really are there. I don't know if you could put like a pedestrian cut through, eliminate those 5 spaces, and maybe make it part of the entire system. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Mac uses 3 of them.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was maybe a better way to make use of those spaces.
And there's someone who lives in an apartment upstairs.
Ah, okay, all right, now, just thinking out loud. To see if there was something else clever that we could do and maybe gain a little bit more open space out of it by doing reconfigurations. But anyways, all right, that's kind of a starter with things. Thank you.
I owe you. Dan, to the access to the east of Mac Davis where they pull in, is that Valero's control?
The Valeros control the driveway. They do own the Mac Davis, where Mac Davis is up front. They do not control these properties to the right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are no longer, those have been sold off to one of the other family members.
Okay.
So they're not controlled by the same part of the family that's proposing this application. We have access to this road, but we don't control the properties to the right.
Well, I think you kind of brought it up where you come in off that Old South Road, but is there a way, as landscaper, et cetera, and I know it's going to kind of go down, but is there a way to go by the office, if you will, onto that 10 acres and then kind of come out the other side? So if someone does go to landscaping, they do come that other way, just to kind of make it So they're not fighting with each other. To going back to Barry's point of having a truck, you know, loaded and then someone's like late for class or whatever, like running in front of a vehicle. I just see some issues with pedestrians, et cetera. And, you know, maybe a speed bump as you're exiting from that Valero's landscaping area. But I just didn't know if that was an option to put on the table. And I know we're talking about different, you know, parts of the family, et cetera, everyone working together. But I know if that was something we could kind of work in, have one way going in, one way out, and another roadway. And then that would kind of also eliminate, you know, people going down the bike path, having two places to look for cars coming out. And it might kind of quiet that a little bit. So yeah, that was kind of something I was, and I'm surprised you're not gonna have to have an elevator to go up to the second floor. Just from prior knowledge, doing a spin studio on the second floor, we had to do an elevator just for people to go look at it. So I'm amazed that wouldn't be an option for someone that,
But it's a
that's
walk-in off of the, because that.
oh, the elevation, oh.
Yeah, the
oh, wow,
elevation change.
Oh, that's.
Because think about the
yeah.
greenhouse, you walk down to the greenhouse.
I didn't think there
right?
was that much elevation, but
Yeah.
that's a great win.
I
for you
think,
guys.
right?
There's a substantial elevation change. That's why you
Yeah,
have the entrance on the right and exit on the left.
I didn't think that was enough, but that's gonna be great for you guys. Yeah, mine's just about traffic flow right now, but this, some way to kind of get this to all work, and one way of the flow, I think would kind of quiet a lot of and less stress. You know, if you go to the UPS store, it's not like someone goes one way, they pull out and they come right back at you. So just some way to kind of get this to work a little bit better. But I like where this is going. I just think a little more finessing would be great.
All right. For me, I just think it's a great redevelopment of this property.
Yes.
I think it brings it up to 2024. I mean, in some ways it's sad. Valero's is kind of changing, but I think it's very positive.
Yeah.
I don't think that the traffic there is what it used to be. And I think that with this, yes, there's gonna be more traffic, but I think Joe had a lot of great ideas about, you know, making the flow in one side and out the other, and make it more predictable and make more sense. I just like it, and I look forward to seeing the more refined plans. John?
Yeah, Dan, I just want to come back to something that Barry said about making sure we know what's going in there, and you mentioned food and so on. You know, Dan, this is, if you're looking at the master plan for our island, this is a piece that's missing, you know, that in the health and wellness kind of area of the community, there is not a affordable gym that is and that kind of resource available in the summer. There is in the winter, you know, we can go and get a winter membership somewhere, but in the summer there isn't. So, you know, and the kinds of people that use gyms in 2024 are people that do want to grab and go some food on the way out. You know, they go early in the morning, they grab food and off they go. So I would encourage you to make sure that you think about that now and not afterwards in terms of what it is other than fitness machines that you want to put in there to make it as value add to the community as possible. And grab and go food would be one thing, you know, classes and all that are others. So, you know, I won't come back to this, to the open space, but open space is part of that. People come out of the gym, they want to take their sandwiches, sit outside and eat, and, you know, so make sure it's not just a place to house machines, Dan. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody in the public? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Scott Wilson. I'm the chairman of the Naushop Board of Trustees. Naushop is the community that is the abutter, you might say to the east, or you might say downhill from this project. And we have, I think, a legitimate concern about signing off or approving or understanding at least the entire drainage arrangement that's being developed. The building on the far right corner up there, between those two buildings, there's a drainage area that's just a giant sort of hole in the ground. And directly to the east of that building is the Nantucket, town of Nantucket sewer substation. So, you know, Nantucket, Naushop used to be called the South Valley. And when Naushop was developed, a very sophisticated and entirely static drainage system was developed, and it works very well. And we have had concerns in the past about runoff from the Valero property, given that we're downhill from that. And so we really want to take some time and go through what is proposed. I know there's some stuff in the papers that were developed, but I only got them today. We also have concern about lighting. Back in the early 2010s, we negotiated with Valero and with a company called Richmond Great Point Development over Richmond's attempt to try and develop the Valero property for another purpose. Those talks ultimately failed, and as a result, Richmond moved across the street and built their development across the street from us. But in that process, we got to know Valero pretty well, and we developed an MOU that covered lighting and boundary protections and all sorts of things, and we think that's going to be important again. Hours of operation obviously are a concern because you know, we're a bedroom community and we don't like lights and we don't like noise, and we are very conscious of you know, what their plans are for hours of operation. And finally, traffic. Traffic on Old South in the summer is a nightmare, and this is going to add to it. And I know there's nothing we can do about that right now, but you can't pretend that it's not going to have an even greater impact on the flow of traffic up and down the Old South Road. And so I think that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Just a couple things. This will have to be dark sky compliant with the lighting. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of control over what happens across that street with what the other Valero owns, but we will be making sure that the stormwater on this site is dealt with on this site and doesn't go beyond.
So dark skies compliant is one thing, but shutting them off is even better.
Oh, no, and that'll be involved in the hours of operation.
Correct.
Some lighting will have to remain for safety, but we will deal with that in the management plan, and you hopefully will be part of that, because you'll be in this room.
Yeah.
I'm offering myself. Yeah.
There you go, and that's what we want, and that's what we need to make a development that works best for everyone, so appreciate it. Barry?
No, I was just going to say to you as well, too, that if you haven't, it might be worth talking to Dan Malloy if there are some drainage issues along that side of the property.
Yeah, I think we're going to hire somebody to come in and give it an independent look and try and.
Because
But
that's the other.
again, you know, it's not necessarily directly within the proposal, but it's worth starting to understand kind of what's going on, since it's the common ownership of things.
But it's not, no, Barry.
Well,
that property is owned by the other Valero.
Right.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
But,
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right, but
That
no,
was-
I think you should pursue whatever, like,
Yeah.
it's important, so.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Em?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily Molden, just real quick to follow up on the board's discussion. I also would certainly be interested in seeing any options for just meeting that open space requirement on the site, if possible, as the plans develop. And then I apologize if I missed this, but I assume that Ed Pesci will be reviewing these in the future, correct? Great, thank you very much.
Very early on, thank you. Ed, not Ed, I'm sorry,
Ed.
Dan, did we give you enough to work on there?
I think so. It sounds like I guess I'm not surprised that traffic and safety, I think, are the top items on the list, and I've heard amongst other things, those are the repeating basis. Stormwater obviously will, like you mentioned, will definitely be accounted for. There isn't, on this side of the property now, there really isn't any stormwater controls. And obviously there will be when we're done. So I'm familiar with that situation. I think I understand what's being talked about next door in terms of what's happening over there to some degree. So we'll certainly take a look at the drainage, make sure that's taken care of. And as well as the lighting, hours of operation. I mean, I'm not hearing anything that wouldn't be expected, I guess is how I would put it.
No, great. And if there's no stormwater on that side of the property now, maybe when they install it, it will help to mitigate the issues you're having downhill.
Right.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
I was, to add to that, Dan, can I just throw this in a little bit? I don't think this rises to the level of a coordinated review, but you brought it up at the beginning of the meeting, fixing that apron area coming in to make it so the water doesn't run out with soil and all that. The berm situation on Old South Road there in the front kind of runs down, obviously, to Noshop's exit. And looking at the catch basins, what's getting done to improve anything? I think there's been some improvements from Richmond there when they did the little island things, but I just don't know exactly. And then the other Valero property, if there's something there that it will help this, I mean, that needs to be fixed, I mean, why not make that part of this? Like, what difference does it make? You can't have water stay in one side and not the other. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing these things around, that's all. This is early on, as Dave said.
Okay.
Just one more thing too, and Megan, I hate to put you on the spot, but Old South Road, we may want to take a look at that corridor again. I know Richmond's done a number of improvements at this point, but I don't know if it's just worth taking a few minutes and looking at it one more time and seeing if there's anything else in terms of improvements or anything that'll have to happen within that vicinity.
Okay, I think that maybe something worth bringing Mike Burns into.
Fine.
I
Love
know
it.
Mike and I were on a call with a traffic study consultant doing work for the Nancy Ann project. They just recently took counts for the intersection of Ironwood and Old South Road, so maybe just the larger conversation, at least, you know, so everyone's on the same page. Does it warrant an entire traffic study?
No.
I think that's something I'd like to have Mike's advice on, based on the change in use. I think, you know, my gut thinks that may be a little aggressive, because there already is a lot of coming and going here, but I think it maybe is worth getting his
Oh,
input.
whatever resources need to be brought to bear, but
I
that would
think
be
Mike-
awesome.
Yeah. Yes. I think Mike to start off with is a good guy.
Maybe not.
Just a note that we're very grateful for everything that Richmond has done to date with Old South Road.
Yeah.
They haven't widened it, so, I mean,
Yeah,
a couple lanes would be nice, but.
until you got to the rotary, and then it wouldn't be so nice.
They did give us a
Leave
left
that one
turn
alone.
lane.
Yeah.
They did give us a left turn lane into Noshop, which is convenient for
Yeah, I
everybody.
think those are helpful, for sure.
And the cosmetic medians are just that. But there is something to be said for if people want to get into this place and they're stuck in traffic, if there's a way to put a lane to get them
Yeah.
in or something.
That's
Like we got-
with the size of this development, that's tough to make them put in a turning lane, I think, but.
I mean, it's taking traffic away and bringing in different traffic, so it's not,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not gonna generate that many extra trips compared to what someone would have gone to the greenhouse to buy tools, right? We're not having that anymore now. I'm not sure that it generates a large amount of new trips, and I could be wrong, but let's hear what Mike has to say and go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it, guys? We good,
Wanna
we good
continue?
here? I'd love to continue this to the 14th.
So let's do that.
Can I ask
Oh,
one more question?
I'll wait then.
Just thought of it. Oh, this is Emily's question, I didn't think of it.
No, hang on, wait, nope.
I didn't do that today, did I? I may have, I gotta get a haircut. So listen, what is, Dan, what is the amount of open space waiver you roughly think you're gonna be asking for? Because I know you didn't have that number, like 2 or 3?
11%, was it? Oh, it's 3.
Like
Yes,
2 or 3?
yeah, and we wanted to, yep, how much room we had in there? Yeah, so, well, right now, the site's not, there's no MCD requirement benchmark today on the property, it just exists. So right now, it's around 15%. We're trying to increase it to 18, so we are increasing it by a few percentage points.
Yeah,
But I'm not confident we can get to the actual 20.
yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. That's all I wanted to know. It's not some crazy number.
You're
Okay.
not at 0, so.
Yeah,
No, there's definitely some open space, and you can see the green space. We're adding quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we're definitely trying to add in as much as we can.
yeah,
It'll look better with it for sure.
yeah.
Great.
Motion to continue till November 14th.
Second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Wow, that's it. Have a good night. We're jealous. Okay, AMA Ventures LLC, Charles River Realty, 1 Sparks Ave.
The Rotary Restaurant.
Yes.
Yep, the old.
I do not want to butcher your name, so.
Good evening. Hello, I'm Donadel Dariush on behalf of AMA Realty and Mill Easement Island at 1 Sparks Ave LLC. We are hoping to change of use on the existing shed. This is an amendment to a previously submitted and previously approved special permit. It is the little ice cream shed that is on the property. It's about 121 square foot. It is circled on your packet right there. It is not the restaurant itself. It is the little shed that we use for ice cream, frozen yogurt. The amendment was originally approved in 2011 when it was the Rotary Restaurant. And then Lola Burger before us used it briefly for frozen yogurt, and then they also used it for cold prep of food. We are hoping to change it to hot and cold prep for food to support the existing kitchen on the property. The space there, while very visual and a lot of foot traffic and car traffic there's not a lot of kitchen space, unfortunately. So we're hoping to help support that with the help of changing the use of the hut, as we affectionately referred to it, to a prep kitchen.
Great. Thank you. Board members? Questions? Concerns? Seems like probably a smarter use of space for you guys.
Yeah.
Anyone in the public want to comment on this? Nobody up in the Zoomerverse?
No hands up.
All righty.
Second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the change in use. Second. With the finding.
Motion made by Nat. Seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
He was expecting like some painful lull. And John Bartlett's just keeping his eyes open. We're all gonna take a break after this one. John, we'll be back in a little bit.
Okay, I don't need a break. I'm gonna go get some pizza.
There you go.
You are all set, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, good luck.
All righty.
The most patient applicant.
I would have been long asleep if I were him. That's it. Galley West LLC, 1 Mothball Way. Is Mr. Reed still with us?
Yes, I'm moving him over
Okay,
right now.
great.
How's the solar array working out there? Good. Both of them? Good. No, don't you have one in this property?
Oh, yeah, that's a solar thermal, actually.
I don't get.
Solar, oh, it like heats water for shower and stuff? And no electric, doesn't create any electricity?
No electricity.
Wow, neat. Are we having technical difficulties?
Except when it's cloudy.
Yeah.
Arthur, can you hear me?
Oh, here he is.
I'm not showing on the screen. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Well,
We can hear you, Arthur. Welcome back.
I tried to, sorry, Mr. Chair, I tried to promote you, Arthur, and it wasn't going through. I just gave you permission to talk.
Okay.
Fine with
Okay.
everyone?
I never left, but, it's been a little while since I've seen you guys. Let's see if this comes on.
The floor is yours, Arthur.
I'm trying to get on.
Oh, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, I'm not seeing, I'm seeing a big black screen with my name on it, but, that's all.
It's like doing with your eyes closed, Arthur.
No, I don't know.
Arthur, we tried to promote you and it didn't work, so that's why you don't see the big screen, but we can all hear you.
Are you getting the notification that you're to accept to panelist? Okay.
There we go.
All right, here we are.
Great.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of Galley West LLC, which is John Bartlett. This is part of a subdivision that was done in 1993 by the Bartletts, at the end of Hummock Pond Road, Mothball Way. And at that time, as part of the planning board decision, it was required, I believe it was presented that way by the applicant, that lots 8 and 9, which were then designated as 1 and 1B before they went to the land court, I believe, were to be treated as a single lot. The land was then in R20, it's now in VR, both 20,000 square foot zoning. Some minor differences as far as setbacks and ground cover and so on are concerned, but basically it's been 20,000 square foot zoning all along. These lots comply dimensionally with the requirements for VR. And the reason that they were to be treated as one lot was the problem with being able to place a septic system. I don't know whether Paul Santos is still on the call or not. He and I talked earlier this afternoon about this, but he has the old files going back to when Mike Bachman was handling this in the 1990s. But in any event, this was done in 1993 before the 1995 changes to Title V. And now this can be treated as a shared system. We have some work to do with the Board of Health, but it is eligible to be treated as a shared septic system, which will be able to serve dwellings on both of these lots. Therefore, it would seem that there's no reason why, and by the way, this was also included in deed restrictions that were placed in connection with the subdivision. Those deed restrictions have expired with the passage of 30 years without being extended. They expired late last year. But because this restriction and the other restrictions contained in it were assigned to the planning board, those don't expire. And therefore, the planning board still has the right of enforcement of the restrictions together with it being a condition of the subdivision approval. However, if the subdivision approval is not not a matter of current public record in the sense that that was contained not in a statement of conditions of approval as we now do today, but as part of a covenant, and then the lots have been released from the covenant. So that leaves it sort of in limbo. But the point is that as part of the decision and as part of the restrictions held by the planning board, these were to be treated as a single lot. There is no longer any reason for them to be treated as a single lot because each of them is a conforming lot. And the only reason for the present restriction was the septic situation as it existed prior to the 1995 revisions to Title V. So therefore, we're simply asking that the planning board enter a decision modifying the approval, the 1993 approval, to eliminate the requirement that lots 8 and 9 be held together as a single lot. And as part of that decision, waive any rights under the declaration of restrictions as to that issue.
Okay, great. Thank you, Arthur. Questions from the board? Nope. Anyone in the public? Anybody up in the Zoom sphere?
No, no hands are up.
We'll give it a second. Any board members have any questions? No, we're all good.
No one? Motion to close the public. Perfect explanation.
Yep. All right, we have a motion to close.
Second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. You guys like to proceed?
Motion to approve the request to make this one lot, I guess.
No, to separate.
Oh,
The opposite.
Oh,
Let them be treated differently.
Treated as
Separate
two
lots.
separate lots,
Yeah.
sorry, yes,
Yep.
got it, you're sorry about that. Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion made by Nat, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Kind of anticlimactic, wasn't it, John?
We don't have any food trucks here.
Thank you very much.
We're not. Arthur, thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
explanation.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yeah. All right, appointment to crack. Joe?
Still gets the same laugh.
That will be me. I am the new crack rep.
Oh, you are. Well, Mr. Iverson.
Does Leah know that?
I emailed her and I told her I'm leaving tomorrow,
Okay.
so she knows that,
Okay.
I'm on board and
Okay.
I'll get with her when I get back
And
and,
we'll do, Leslie, myself, and Paul will all be at the meeting tomorrow, because it's
Oh,
specifically
awesome.
discussing the zoning impact, so we can
thank you for
move
being
the-
there, yeah.
Time
All right.
meeting.
10 to 12?
It's still 10 to 12.
Yep.
At all.
Every 2 weeks.
Make the tax.
Yes, survey.
Hey, before we split, Megan, can you talk to the powers that be and see if they can do something about the thermostat in this place so that we're not bringing in fruits, vegetables, and meats to start storing in
think it
here?
was because it was
Selfishly,
so
Mary,
hot.
I don't know about that, because I'm kind of comfortable.
Are you all? Oh, well, that is so true. I know. I should have realized who I was talking to
When
all
I
of
bring
a
a wool
sudden.
hat in next time, you guys will understand.
Can I get a wave and a wear a
Yeah,
hat
I
in public?
think, I don't
Real
think you're the
quick, you
first
guys,
person that's asked that.
I
think it's been going
know,
on for
but
9
I'm,
years.
but I'm moving it to a slightly different level. That's what I'm trying to do.
Just real quick announcement about the master plan update.
Yep.
Judy Barrett has been working with Leslie on trying to source funding so that we can beef up the community engagement. So that
Beautiful.
should be wrapping up here shortly to have a community engagement plan to present to you all. Judy will be presenting an update of the master plan to the select board at the November 6th meeting. That meeting was selected because our department is doing our departmental update that day. And we thought it was a good way to reach a broad audience on what has been going on with the master plan. So Judy plans on being there as well. We will post a meeting in case, we have a quorum of members that want to participate at that meeting too. So just keep that penciled in. I think it's the 6th. It's the first Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Ready?
Yeah,
Oh, we gotta appoint you.
no, we got a second.
Oh. I didn't.
Second.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thought we were back to crack or something.
That's what happens when you run.
Okay, motion made by Nat, seconded by Barry, all in favor.
Aye.
Boom.
Aye. Thank you.